Today I'm sitting down with Emma to talk about the first movie of one of the most significant entertainment franchises of our generation, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. After discussing our personal histories with the books and movies, we'll explore how the films actually came to be, our favorite scenes and shots, how they hired both unknown child actors along with all-time greats, how they managed to stay so faithful to the books, and how they pulled off the feat of bringing this magical world to life through talent, passion, and incredible attention to detail. But for now, sit back, relax, and welcome to my film club. How do you go? I mean, obviously I know you're a Harry Potter fan, so I thought you'd be a great person for it, but generally, how do you feel about the movies versus the books?
I like the movies because they bring the books to life, I guess. And because I think the first movie came out when maybe like 4 books had come out. And by that point, I think I had read them. I was like 7 when the first movie came out. And I guess at that point, I hadn't maybe like got an image of all the characters. So then the movies are like what you picture when you're reading the later books. Yeah. So yeah, books are definitely better, I would say. But like the nostalgia of the movies is what I like.
And I'm correct that you're a very big Harry Potter fan?
Yeah. I've read them a few times.
Yeah, I think anyone who's read them more than once or twice definitely qualifies. What is your earliest memory of Harry Potter in whatever form, and sort of how has that been a part of your life?
I think I definitely remember reading them, but I was probably young enough that some chapters were maybe read to me. Yeah. And I remember finishing the second book by myself, so I can't remember how old I would have been, but first couple of years of school. And then I remember, like, I guess when you're younger, going to the cinema is like such a huge family outing. And I remember my dad taking my sister and I to see the early Harry Potter movies. I can't remember if it was this one or like the second or third. So yeah, I kind of grew up with the world, and I guess I would have been pre-11. So then when your 11th birthday hits, you're waiting for your Hogwarts letter. So yeah, I kind of grew up with Harry Potter, so similar ages as the books were coming out, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess with that difference, our 4-year age difference, for you, the books and the films were more intertwined.
Yeah, I guess so.
The film came out after the 4th book had come out, so I think I was probably up to date, because I do remember being quite a bit of build up. And I know I've had this with other people when I've been the younger one, and they'll say, oh, I remember the anticipation for a movie building up. Whereas, do you remember that, or do you just remember the movie because you were younger? The movie just sort of...
I don't remember, like when you're older and you're counting down the days for movies. I don't think I was there, but I remember that more for the books coming out.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't know, queuing for midnight. I never actually did it, but friends would, and they'd go get their book and then read it.
I remember the hunt for Harry Potter being quite a big story in the newspapers and stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, the books started coming out in 1997, then the first movie came out in 2001. One thing is, I don't know if this was something my parents said or whatever, but I remember having this impression that, this thing became successful, and then the movie studios were just tripping over each other to get it, and you just thought that, obviously they're very good movies and stuff, but I had this image that maybe it was just some sort of cash grab of like, we need to make this. But actually, the story is much more interesting than that, is that it started from the beginning. So the 4 most important people off screen are J.K. Rowling, the director, Chris Columbus, the screenwriter, Steve Kloves, but he's probably the least important of the 4. But then the most important, well, after J.K., is David Heyman. So he's the producer. There's a bunch of executive producers, pretty much an honorary title, but he is the person who produced all 8 and probably some of the other Harry Potter films. He, British guy, had some experience in Hollywood. He'd been part of a bunch of stuff. He'd worked in studios. He'd worked with Warner Brothers before. And then he came back in 1997 he wanted to take a child's book and make it into a movie. And he came across, it might even have been before the first one came out, but he came across a manuscript of it. Apparently it was one of his assistants that suggested it. He'd been trying to adapt, I don't even know if you know this book, The Ogre Downstairs by Diana Wynne Jones. He was trying to adapt that. It probably is exactly what it sounds, some bedtime story. That didn't work out, so his backup plan was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I
guess the good thing with Harry Potter is like the ogre story might be like a one and done. Whereas with Harry Potter, because he grows up to be 17 when it finishes,
Absolutely.
you take kind of kids with the journey.
And let alone all of the world building stuff.
Exactly,
But I love parts in story where you imagine that when this deal fell through about the ogre downstairs, he must have thought, fuck, this is my big show. Now
what's next?
Yeah. And he comes across this Harry... I mean, you could imagine a movie about the making of the movies. Imagine movies about the writing of it. But yeah, the point is this started in 97, so he might even have seen it, because obviously you send out manuscripts to people to get reviews and attention and like publishers and stuff. So he might have seen it before it even came out, and he thought, this is it.
Yeah.
They spent the next couple of years negotiating, and then so the way it works to produce like that, he had his own production house. He basically goes to Warner Brothers and says, I think this will be good. Now we just need to buy the rights. And they kind of put everything together. That's their job. And so he pitched it to Warner Brothers, who he already had connections with, which really helps in the industry. And I'm sure there were other studios that were interested, but it wasn't as though it was a bidding war. They signed the rights in 1999. So by that point, I guess the third one was coming out.
Yeah.
And I do think it was very successful in the UK, but I have read that it wasn't huge in the US overnight. That it was
the books or the movie.
The books.
Okay.
The books. Yeah. I think the gap between the two was perfect, because there had been, as you said in your personal experience, there had been enough momentum that had built up, and it was popular enough that by the time the movies come out, the first movie was the highest grossing one until the last one. So it's not as though the movies got bigger and bigger. It did start with a splash. And yeah, so they signed the rights from J.K. Rowling in 1999 have you seen for how much?
No, it'll be some like tiny amount probably.
So it was $1 million.
Wow.
And obviously this is like an advance, so it's $1 million for the rights for the first 4 movies.
Okay.
But don't worry, JK's all right. She's now, just from the films, apparently made an estimated $700 million from the movies. But you know what? And we're gonna steer away from any politics. We don't need to talk about that. But like whatever people might think of her, I think she's definitely someone that has earned every cent that she has, because she has created these amazing things, this amazing world, which has both generated a lot of money for a lot of people, but also so much joy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the first book is like, I don't know, you could argue pretty basic story, like a kid going to school, but when you read the whole series, and obviously we won't discuss it today, but you can tell that she's really thought about the plots and like the characters that you see in the start, and their like development is great world building. And like there's games now, and there's these movies, and obviously they're making a TV show soon, so it's like living on and on. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the imagination that you need. For this podcast, we did Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring a couple of months ago, so that'll be out by the time you see this episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out, with Frosty. And that it's similar how Tolkien he was older, I think, when they came out, and he just basically had spent his whole life creating this world. But I mean, honestly, if you compare, I think there probably maybe are more volumes of books from him about the world of Lord of the Rings, but in terms of the combination of what the authors created, but then what people are able to extrapolate into games and TV shows and whatever. I mean, the Fantastic Beasts, that's based literally on one of their textbooks.
Yeah, right? She did write some, like, I guess, secondary things, but they were small, and then they've made it into like a huge three movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those?
I watched the first one when it came out in the cinemas, and I wasn't keen, but I rewatched them recently, like on a full Harry Potter rewatch, and they're fine. I mean, it's nice to have another thing that steps into that world, I guess, but I wouldn't say they compare to like the main movie. I read all the books growing up. Even though I'm older than you, I think I do remember, not my mum reading to me because I couldn't read, but I do remember my mum reading the first one. I think maybe it was to me and my brother, who's 6 years younger. And I remember we would be driving in the car, and one of the parents would be driving and the other would read. I think we would take turns and read it to the whole car. So it was very much a thing growing up with the family that everyone was involved in. And then my more vivid memories were the later books, like you mentioned. Yeah.
I think because they came out every year. I think the later ones is every 2 years, because I mean, it's amazing. Obviously they're shorter than Game of Thrones books, but George R. R. Martin should take notes from her work ethic in terms of speed. But I remember, I think it was the last 2, I was on holiday with my parents, and both times, it didn't matter where we were, we thought, no, we need to get there. I think we were in Italy for the penultimate one, and I think we were on a cruise, and my parents they went to an Italian. I think my dad says, "Oh, they're only gonna have it in Italian." I said, "I don't think you understand how big Harry Potter was." And obviously, they got it. And for the last one, we were in China. It was the biggest trip of my entire childhood, and I think we got it the day before we were flying, and my parents got it for me, and I just stayed up all night.
Yeah, I must have finished this.
And I wasn't a big reader then. I'm better now, but I'm not the biggest reader in the world. But I just remember that being something that,
devouring it, yeah.
You just can't.
I was the same for the final book. We were on holiday in Turkey.
Must have come out during the summer.
Yeah, I think we were away and it like came out and then we were home within 2 days. My parents were different. They were like, just wait till you get home. They didn't understand.
Oh, my dad tried that and I was having none of it.
Absolutely not. I could see people on the beach with it and I was like, I could steal one when they go into the sea. But yeah, I remember we got back, we flew back in. I said, we need to go get it now.
W.H. Smith
at
the airport.
Exactly, at the airport. And then I just read it for an entire day.
Yeah, and then the movie's coming out. I don't actually remember. I'm sure I saw it in the cinema, maybe even here in the UK. But yeah, I don't have a memory of going to see them. So I think the movies made less of an impact on me than the books did. But you say you remember going as a family to the cinema to see the...
Yeah, I remember my dad taking me for the first few. I don't really remember some of the later ones, but I definitely would have gone. Yeah.
But that's not, because I found, talking to various people about movies, that it makes the movie, both the initial and then forever, it makes much more of an impact if you have a significant story about, and usually it is going to the cinema with either friends or family. That always adds some heart.
Cements it, yeah.
So the film grossed, I think it was around 800 or 900 million at the time. They did a bunch of re-releases and it did eventually cross 1 billion. And so it was one of the, I think it was in the top 10 highest grossing movies for a while, until apparently it was Deathly Hallows Part 2, which knocked it out of the top 10.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, it was the most successful until that one of the franchise. Do you want to guess the Rotten Tomatoes scores, both for the critics and the audience?
Ooh. I think the audience is going to be higher, I would argue. It's got to be like, I'm going to say 79 critics, 91 audience.
80 for the critics. You can't get much closer than that. And 82 for the audience. So
okay, slightly higher.
But it's nice when they're aligned. And IMDb 7.7. Which is good. I don't think that's as good as an 80% Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't quite get it into the IMDb top 250. The only Harry Potter in the IMDb top 250 is Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is at 8.1.
I would argue like the films do probably get better in terms of like production, but I guess people watch the first ones again and again every year because it's like the nostalgia and they feel like Christmassy in a way.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. Yes, Nita loves watching them around Christmas. I actually don't think I'd rewatched. I probably watched it once or twice back then, like once in cinema, once when it came out on DVD, and maybe once again. And I genuinely don't think I watched them for the last 20 years until maybe a year ago. And I think because the actors grew up and they obviously became better actors. I've got this, so you just got these weird specific memories. But I remember talking with a friend around the time they were coming out, and us basically scoffing at, well, obviously the actor of Harry Potter is not a good actor, sort of thing, and obviously he became better, so I guess that kind of makes you think that the first one is less good than the others. But like with all franchises, there's just a magic of the first one, and there's nothing's ever going to replace the whole being introduced to the world, everything being new and stuff. So I do think it holds up. I do think it's very good. I can't tell you off the top of my head how it compares to the others. How do you feel about do you have a favorite out of the 8 movies?
I think the fourth one is like a classic. The Goblet of Fire. Because it's a little bit story. Different, and you've got the challenges and the different schools. It's also, I think, the point where they're going from being like children into like teenagers. Because
I was thinking that with this one about the one weakness, if we're nitpicking, is the Voldemort at the end looks pretty. Spoiler, sorry. We do a spoiler line. But I feel like if this is one movie where I can't see any, either you've seen it or you haven't.
And if you haven't, you probably don't care.
So the idea is that someone might listen to this or watch this and either decide to watch it for the first time. Probably more likely here is that you watched it a long time ago. So if that's the case, we'll let you know when the spoiler line is and you can go and watch it and then continue the podcast. The point was going to be that Voldemort doesn't become a major character until book 4, and even there, he only appears at the end. And I do think that's a change in it. Because in the second one, it's Tom Riddle, and the third one...
Third one's not... Well, yeah, the third one's the only one that doesn't have Voldemort, because it's Sirius Black as the villain.
Yeah. The thing I like about the reviews, and the thing I enjoy, is that I had this depiction that maybe it was not bad, but lesser good, and it got better. But looking back, I realized, A, personally, I think it's a lot better than I remembered, and B, everyone agreed with that. Critics, audiences. Roger Ebert, who's considered by most to be the greatest critic of all time, who has now sadly passed, was very much around then, gave it 4 out of 4 stars. I read his review. Nice 4 or 5 paragraph reviews he does. They're so digestible, and he just nails it, and he just says, and he points out some flaws. He says, listen, the CGI could be better. It looks a bit clunky. But he said, but you don't want this to look too realistic either. There needs to be something, because it needs to look like a children's movie and stuff. And yeah, so he loved it, and it's nice to see that it was appreciated in its time. It got 3 Oscar nominations.
Wow.
Do you want to guess any of them?
Music, surely.
Original score.
Yeah.
Keep going down. None of them are for acting.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'll be like direction.
Art direction.
And
costume design.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And none of them won. So the last question before we cross the spoiler line. It doesn't work as well with this movie, but I'll still ask you, who would you recommend this movie to? And I guess that's less of a people who should watch it for the first time, but more in general. The way I like to think with this question, frame this question is, imagine what sort of person in what sort of mood would they have to be for you to say, you should watch Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone?
I think it's your perfect like cozy movie. Sunday night, or maybe like Sunday afternoon. It's raining outside. You just want to put something comforting on. Maybe you have a nap for 20 minutes. But you can wake up and you'll pick it straight back up.
That's a great way of putting it. Love it. All right. So with that, we're going to cross the spoiler line. So we've tried, I failed a little bit, to avoid any spoilers about the plot, what happens and stuff. But from now on, complete spoilers. So in 5 minutes, we might say how it ends. You've been warned. And if you want to avoid the spoilers, go watch the movie. We recommend Just Watch as a way of finding out where you can stream the movies. Or you can get the Blu-ray box set. Now, you can either buy it yourself, or you can enter a competition that I'm going to talk about later in the episode on how you can be the person to win this Blu-ray box set of all 8 Harry Potters. So stick around for that. I consider the foundation of any good movie to be the entertainment value. It can have great performances or be well written and look amazing, but to me, if you can't say why this is entertaining, then it's not for me at least, and I think most people would agree with that.
Yep.
So I break it down into buckets of types of entertainment. Usually it follows the genre. This might be the most jack of all genres movie there is. It's officially listed as an adventure fantasy family on IMDb.
Okay.
Which I agree with all 3, but I think mystery should really be in there. Because do you not think, and this is true for all the books, even though it takes place in the Wizarding world, they're basically, they're kind of detective books, that they're all trying to solve a mystery, usually revolving around Voldemort. In this case, it's finding the Philosopher's Stone. In the second, it's the Chamber of Secret. In the third, the third one's more about, well, even there, he basically wants to find Sirius Black because he killed his parents. As you said, the fourth one, a bit different, but so on. So it is, I do think there's this, not murder mystery, but this, cracking the case, and everyone loves kids cracking a case.
Yes, yeah.
Especially in a magical tower. Then I think, I'm not saying this should be listed, but drama with the whole Voldemort thing and the death and the Malfoy stuff, action, troll, Quidditch, the chess game, and obviously I think there are huge elements of comedy with the Dursleys, Hagrid, thriller, horror, even a
kid's horror. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I'm not saying this should be considered a horror movie, but when you consider that there are witches and ogres and trolls and
I think it should get later into the movies as well.
Yes, it gets darker.
It gets darker.
Yeah. So what would you say the main entertainment value is for you?
I think the nostalgia is like the biggest thing. Like it brings the books to life, and I remember kind of where I was when I was reading the books or watching the film for the first time.
So like the world building.
Yeah. And the way that the music and the visuals, they all like bring something that you've read about to life in such a good way.
We'll talk about the music later, but again, obviously this is the most obvious book adaptation, but this is absolutely not meant to be a podcast about book adaptations, but all but one of the movies we've done on this have some sort of literary origin. So whether it's a straight book adaptation like this, or Catch Me If You Can, or it'll be based on a novella, or like something like The Mask of Zorro was based on, that's based on old movies and TV shows that are based on books that's based on a real person. But one of the things I've just found so interesting when you dig into a lot of movies is the source material. Obviously, this one is one of the most direct links.
Yeah.
But how hard it is to actually bring these things to life that were just paper. And I think the music, because the costumes, the characters, all that is described. But no one describes the music, because music is music. And you can't, the fact that John Williams managed to nail the vibe, for lack of a better word, with the music, I just think is amazing. And
like some of the shots when the music's going and it's like changing the seasons. I know there's a bit when Hedwig's flying through the seasons, and it's just like, I think you don't notice the music until it's gone. Like if you saw that and there was like either bad music or no music, it just wouldn't really feel the same. But he somehow like creates magic through music. It's so
and good. I mean, he's the best. He's done it for so many franchises. So something like, obviously Harry Potter, you immediately think of Hedwig's song.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, you always think of the dun 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 dun. But it's funny you say that about when the music's gone. So I was going to keep this from music, but since you brought it up, the way music is done usually, especially with someone like John Williams, who's done hundreds of mostly the greatest movies of all time, they'll give him a longer, rougher cut of the movie a few months before the release, and they'll basically say, write music to this. And so a lot of the time they'll literally just compose, they'll watch a scene, and these people, he lives and breathes music, and he'll just compose something based on what he's seeing.
So good.
Yeah, but but then obviously they might edit the cut that he gets, and so he has to adapt it, which I'm sure happens all the time. But apparently the shot where they arrive at Hogwarts with the boats, which I think is one of the ones, I think that it's not, because they play Hedwig's song throughout, but it is one of the most epic shots music.
Yeah, the first time you see Hogwarts.
And apparently, so they sent him the long cut, and then he did it the way we've seen it now, and then they got the music and then matched it to the shorter cut, but they had basically made it tighter. They'd made the shot shorter because they thought the film was lagging at that point. But then when they added the music, they said, "Oh, absolutely not.
Keep it all in."
Yeah, we need to keep it exactly the way he did it." And so, to exactly your point, the music just adds a whole other layer.
Yeah,
and I think movies like this would die if the music was shared. Which is why when you see now, like we went to see the Lion King Mufasa.
Oh yeah,
which I wanted to love so much, and the music is terrible. And that makes you appreciate with movie like this.
Yeah, you feel for like the musicians, because often it's kind of the forgotten art. Like the actors are the ones that you say fantastic performance, and you only notice the music, as you say, when it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I think you notice it very much when it's bad, and then if you had an average movie and great music, you wouldn't notice it. But when you've got a great movie with great
and it
music,
just clicks.
And you realize, oh, this is one of the 5 best things about this.
Yeah.
So now we'll do the story.
Okay.
So, do you remember this? I think this was going to be in the quiz, but I decided not to. Do you remember the first shot of the movie?
Dumbledore and McGonagall coming in.
So that's the first scene, but the first shot is right before that is an owl at night on the Privet Drive sign. I'm not too sure why there's an owl there. But yeah, then so opening scene is Privet Drive, which I believe is the opening chapter in the book as well.
Yeah.
Dumbledore with his light thing, which becomes very important in the later books. Perfect example you were saying before about putting some breadcrumbs. And McGonagall with turning in... Oh yeah, you'd mentioned about her turning into a...
Yeah, she's a cat. Yeah. And then Dumbledore says like...
When you'd said that, was that scene, or do you mean it when she's in class, or both?
This scene in particular,
the
shot, because it was made so long ago. I think if they made it now, they might have like more CGI. But the fact that they do like cat to person in the shadows just makes it so much better. Yeah,
because I think when I watched it last night, I thought, oh yeah, I guess the CGI wasn't good enough. But later, when they have her first class, they do show her.
They do, yeah.
So clearly they knew they could. But I think it's a perfect example of artistically, it's much cooler having the shadow.
Yes, exactly. And it means that it doesn't like date in the way that, as you said earlier, like Voldemort's head, not so great.
Does he do the lights before McGonagall shows up? I think he does.
Yeah, I think so, because she's sat on the wall.
Yeah, so that's the first magic. I'm just thinking what the first magical
piece of magic we see,
is that, and then the second magic is obviously her
coming in, and then flying motorbike.
Yeah, and then I literally remember. I think it was the first time. It must have been my mum reading this, and because I just remember it being so weird, the clicking thing. But I remember that. I remember and that is one of those that as a kid you're like, okay, this is really stretching my imagination. So there's a giant on a flying motorcycle carrying a baby.
Yep.
They really throw you into the deep end. And then so I've got, this is not going to be a huge thing, but I do have some questions.
Okay.
and this will be just as much book as movie. To you, why does Dumbledore decide to leave him with the Dursleys?
In the book, it's because... So if we go into like lore, Harry was saved by his mother. Mm-hmm. She sacrificed herself. So he's protected by this love, as Dumbledore describes it later in the film. So by leaving Harry with the Dursleys, because it's with his mum's sister, so his aunt, he is again still protected by that like family love thing.
Oh yeah, and isn't there a thing in one of the books where he... at a certain birthday, they need to get him out of there because the magic's going to expire.
So when he turns 17, I think is like the magical age.
I think it's in Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood Prince. Well, it's one of them.
Yeah, when he escapes with all
when they all turn into
the Order
Harry's,
come in. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer. Because it is one of those... I think there's definitely some nitpicks about how Dumbledore not treats Harry, but his version of mentorship is a lot of just... figure shit out by yourself.
Yeah, you'll be fine. And I think with the Dursleys, like when you read it as a kid, you can see the humor of it.
Of course,
of like these are like funny people, they're terrible. But when you watch it now as an adult, you're like, right, okay, this kid was abused.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so bad. It's just a simple thing that I noticed yesterday is how I think maybe it's after the zoo when they put him in and lock it. So he's literally at night. He's locked into there. And I said, Sneaker, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. If there's a fire, no.
Yeah. So perfect. Moving on. So we get the hard intro to the magic world, and then we get the normal world, the Dursley. So I remember in the book they do spend quite a few pages saying all this stuff that happens. But I think this is where here they do a great job at just kind of showing you everything in one day with the Dudley birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're introduced to, I think like their first lines they all say like, get my breakfast, get my coffee boy, and you get breakfast on. Like you instantly get like the reality of what he's living through. Yeah,
and this line was both in the movies and the books, but the 37 presidents.
How many are there?
That you need to know nothing. Obviously, you do see more because he's hilarious, but you don't need to know anything more about Dudley to know that he's a spoiled little shit.
Yeah, but last year.
Exactly. Yeah. So we get all of that intro to Harry Potter's life, introduced to the powers. I believe the one change they made here, I'm going to say I'm not going to harp on these too much, and none of this is critical, but I do think it's interesting to mention the differences between the book and the movie. But one thing here is the glass reappearing after the snake escapes. That's not in the book, is it? So, glass disappears,
when he falls in.
Snake goes out, Dudley falls in. I don't even know if he falls in the books. But him falling in and the glass reappearing, I think they added.
Yeah, maybe.
But it is just really funny.
Just added the humor of him.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's actually, for a kid, he's really good, the Dudley actor, at being the worst.
Yes, absolutely. Being the bully.
So yeah, he gets grounded, and then the owls begin.
Yes,
great scene. You highlighted this as one of your first favorite scenes.
Yeah. I think in particular, so obviously the owls come and they're dropping letters and Harry can't get a hold of them. And then they're all sitting around. It's a great day Sunday. So good. And you just know that something's coming. And the scene where all the letters are flying through and he's looking up at the ceiling and trying to catch one. Although in your head you're like, just grab one and run, man.
Or they were on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't try and catch. There's so many. But yeah, that's so frustrating.
That's a great shot of him jumping around. I think Hagrid arriving on the motorcycle was one of the first things that I just remember, the link between remembering the feeling of reading the books and then seeing it. And I think the other one was the scene of the house being flooded with letters. And you just think pre-movie, like, how are they going to do this? And you go, oh, like that, I guess.
Yeah, they can do it. If you've been to the Warner Brothers studio, they've got it all set up with them hanging down, and it like really brings it to life.
You've done it.
Yes, yeah.
Really Sneed hasn't been yet. I think we have to take her at some point.
Yes, definitely do.
So then we move on to the cabin. This is another one. As a kid, I remember it being, because it's so weird. They live in, I think this takes place in the 90s technically, right? 90,
yeah, 94,
I think it's around the time the books came out. So it's the late 90s. But the point is, it's the time that we grew up. No one goes to stay in a cabin on an island with the water coming through.
Yeah.
And I just have this vague recollection as a kid reading the books, going, I must be misconstruing this. And then you see it.
And you're like, oh no.
This is exactly the way I imagined it. But yes, and then Hagrid's, I guess we'd already seen him, so it's less dramatic. But yeah, his arrival is quite something.
Yeah, pushing the door down. And when he curls up the shotgun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's really funny too. And I think it's obviously a small bit, but it is kind of just symbolizes how insignificant the world that we know is versus the wizarding world. Because at various points you could say, oh, what about radars when they're on brooms, or military this or whatever. But I think in a weird way, I didn't plan to make this point, but I'm going to make it, is that just shows that nothing that we could possibly think of that would beat the wizarding world. Like, we are the rifle. The wizarding world is Hagrid. They would always just find a way. There's an
answer for everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just no. That probably is the only gun that's used in the whole series. I can't actually think of a gun.
Yeah, I think so.
So Hagrid saves him, and then I put this all as Diagon Alley, but it's basically all the pre-Hogwarts Express. So Leaky Cauldron,
Yep,
Quirrell, Gringotts, and then the actual Diagon Alley.
Yes,
which
magical.
That's probably the first. Whoa, yeah, that's the first step into the world.
Yeah. And he taps on the bricks, and then you go in, and it's just, I think it's another one with the music, and it's like very happy. And I guess every shop that you pass, it's like taking you like a little step into the magical world. So you have like the broomsticks, and then cauldrons, and all these pets, and it really brings it to life.
Yeah, so I watched have you watched the behind the scenes? Basically, the behind the. So I watched it I realized this, I think with Lord of the Rings is like 4 hours. Thankfully it was only 2 for this, but I watched like 2 hours of behind the scenes and so they talk quite a bit about the designing Diagon Alley, and that they want it to be Dickensian, which I think very much succeeded in that. And one of the real interesting things with the production was how it was such a collaboration between, and this is perfectly illustrated with the actors, but it's a collaboration between the older, more experienced people. So whether it's the actors, obviously some of the greatest actors of their generation, or whether it's the John Williams or the production design people, but they also very much relied on the passion of the younger people. So they had a very experienced production designer, but who I'm sure had read the books, but it wasn't exactly, they weren't crazy about it. But apparently they had younger, more junior people who, there was maybe something that's just one shop that's mentioned in the books, one line, and she would just create, it's like, okay, this is exactly what the broomstick stop would look like. This is what the sign will be. This is what the person, and it might only, I was showing it to Sandy yesterday, it might just be in the corner of one shot once, but someone probably spent months designing every aspect of that shop. And with all of these movies, again, there's a lot of parallels, but with Lord of the Rings, I found this. It's the attention to detail. It's without that, if you don't have people, making sure that they're using, wearing the right robes, or a little teaser. I have a interesting anecdote about the bats used in the Quidditch that relate to something that people that I knew back in France. So I'll save that for later.
Lovely.
But it perfectly illustrates this point of the amount of detail that went into every last, thread, building and stuff is how it works. They
didn't cut any corners.
Yeah, exactly. They could have just made, the perfect example here is they could have just had a bunch of storefronts and just put signs that said each one of the shops, and that's it.
But even the shape of the buildings is like curled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously Diagon Alley is amazing. I really like Ollivander's as well, because I don't know, it's a combination of the fact that there's quite some significant stuff that's said vis-a-vis the story that becomes important books and movies later. He's a cool character. His entrance shot where he just slides in. They did an interview with a guy who said, I think I have the coolest entrance of any of the characters.
Yeah.
But then obviously all of everything exploding. I enjoy it. It gives me a lot of anxiety because I just think, all the cleanup.
Yeah. Well, he's got magic.
Yeah. That's the answer. Then I think it's in the Leaky Cauldron, but Hagrid and Harry have a little chat, and this is where he tells them about Voldemort.
Yes. So Ollivander has told him a little bit about the string of your wand had a pear, and that pear gave you that scar. So he's getting like a little taste of the world, and he's obviously met people in the Leaky Cauldron who've said like, welcome back, Harry, and he has no idea what's going on because he's been completely protected from it. Yeah,
because I guess the whole, when Hagrid comes into the house, it's you're a wizard, that's the shock. There's not even a mention. I guess that's it. They talk about the parents dying not the way he thought, but there's no hint that it is what it is.
Yeah,
so,
he's like a celebrity. Yeah.
So celebrity. So it's actually obviously based on the book, but in the movie, it's such a good escalation of you're a wizard, then you're famous, then.
But why am I famous?
Yeah, he who must not be named, and then Voldemort. And then we get the Hogwarts Express. There's a scene in the book here where he does go home to the Dursleys. I don't even remember what happens in the book, but they cut that.
Because so his birthday is the end of July. So in the movies, they just like pretend that August is not a month. because he just goes straight to school. But yeah, I think in the book, I can't remember what he does when he goes back, but maybe that's why they cut it, because there's not really much going on. Just waiting to go, I guess.
So one of the segments I wanted to do in this podcast, and I never actually got around to doing it, was Dom's Data.
Okay, I love it.
But then I'd get to a movie and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I don't know how exactly it's going to be a segment here, but I've definitely done Dom's Data for this. I created a spreadsheet. I checked. So my first point was I looked at how long each book was and how long each movie was to figure out which movie gave the most seconds per page.
Nice.
And to see how condensed it is. So we'll talk about that later in the script. But then I went deeper on this one. I took every single chapter, how many pages it were, and how long they spent on it to see what are the chapters that they condensed and which are the ones they expanded. It's actually quite interesting.
Oh, there you go.
So the point is they skip this scene here. Because I think, he says, that's it. He puts him onto a train to go back to the Dursleys in the book, but in the movie he puts him on the Hogwarts Express, basically.
Yeah. Another thing where he's just like expected to get on with things. Hagrid's like, oh yeah, gotta go. Just find the platform.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
But I think that is one where that's the movie taking a shortcut, because obviously in the book that doesn't happen, and in the movie, if Hagrid walks into platform 9 3/4, he might end up in Slytherin because he never met the Weasleys.
Yeah, you get to meet Molly for the first time.
I feel like you like Molly a lot.
I like Molly. Yeah,
she's very sweet. But yeah, so Hogwarts Express. Again, this is obviously, I think there's a lot of comedy throughout. I think you get your big dose with the Dursleys, but then I think one of my favorite moments is when he goes and asks about platform 9 3/4 to the attendant. He's, oh, think you're funny, do you? Do you know one of the problems with platform 9 3/4 in the book, well, in reality versus the books or the movies? There's something that doesn't quite work about the concept of platform 9 3/4.
I don't know, 9 and 10 on different sides.
So for the way it is you 9 and 10 would have to be separated by a thing. They're not. They're next to each other.
Oh.
So you've got.
So there's a train line in the middle.
Well, it's not. They're next. The train lines are next to each other. So basically, there's a platform with 8 and 9 next to it, and then there's a platform with 10 and 11 next to it.
Okay.
And apparently, J.K. Rowling says that she got muddled up because she thought, like, on what types of train visit. I don't know. There's an explanation about how she got it muddled up, but that was just a funny thing. But then what they've done, obviously, at the real platform 9 3/4 is they've done it on in the main part.
Like in the concourse,
but I think they have aligned it so it goes exactly. Like if you drew a line between where they're doing it and the rails, it would go between them.
Nice.
I believe. Have you got a photo of you at platform 9 3/4?
No, I got it from the Warner Brothers. They've got a similar thing there, right. I think. But no, I've been there and it's just like there's always
a queue. Yeah. So meet the Weasleys.
Lovely. Yes.
All of them.
Yeah,
Molly.
we get most of the family. You can hear Molly coming along, and he hears Muggles, and he's like, "Oh, Muggles, that must be magic. I'll follow them."
Then getting onto the train, this is one of those. This is what I love about movies like this: is there's so much for everyone. And I've never been a huge car guy, definitely not train kind of stuff. But with Remy Sneeder's nephew, who's very passionate about trains, his hook to why he likes Harry Potter is because he loves trains and he loves the Hogwarts Express. And obviously it is a beautiful train and it's like shot beautiful. That's probably actually got to be one of the shots of the steam
going
coming
through
off
the countryside
and stuff. But yeah, it's just, and again, the imagination, they could have just gone through a portal and turned up at Hogwarts, but the idea that they have to come here, they have to go through the portal, they have to get on the train, then get there and go to boats, like it really transports you.
It doesn't really like make sense that like if someone lived in like the north of England, are they having to like trek all the way down to London to get a train back up?
Because I guess the port keys, you're not allowed to use them, but under a certain age, are you?
I think you can use them, but they're blocked in Hogwarts. Hogwarts has like a protective.
Yeah, I guess they could just take them to the train
station.
to
the door. I don't know.
But it's part of the experience.
Yes, exactly. I guess it's the excitement where you're going back to school, you get to see all your friends for the first time.
Yeah. In the books, he meets Malfoy in Diagon Alley. Then I remember that. I think they're getting their robes fitted.
Yeah.
Then he does meet him again on the train. But then in the movies, they decide to he would bump into him.
It's in the school, isn't it? Yeah.
So they arrive at Hogwarts, the boats, epic shot.
Epic, yeah.
Meets Malfoy, reintroduce the Professor McGonagall, the Sorting Hat. One thing that bothered me is the order of the Sorting Hat.
Yes. When I was watching it, I was like, hold on. Because Hermione goes first, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I checked in the books; it is alphabetical.
Yeah,
but again, Reddit, you gotta love it. You Google it and you get a Reddit, you get ChatGPT trying to Google's AI or whatever answering it, and they basically said yes. In the movies, there's no particular order; it's a first come, first served, and you just like, no, it's not. They just wanted
they need
to,
the dramatic effect.
Exactly.
Because I guess you want Ron to be Harry would want Ron to be sorted, and then it's the only friend he has in this world, so you want to be like, okay, well, we want to be in the same house.
But in the books, Ron goes after him. Right?
Yeah, because he would have been W. Yeah.
But obviously Hermione Granger goes first. Feast. Oh yeah, we'll go through our favorite shots later, but the feast is obviously
when it all
amazing.
pops up, yeah.
Then the first night. So at this point, we're 50 minutes into the movie. The movie is about 2 hours 20. And I'll say one thing. I mean, unsurprisingly, given that it's based on like a children's book, which is very quickly paced, moves really quickly. You don't have time to breathe. It's just like on. I don't think there's a scene up until this point that lasts. To be honest, maybe the one with Hagrid that lasts more than 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, it moves quite well. You mentioned about the book being quite basic.
A basic book, like the plot isn't.
Yeah,
amazing,
and it's short. I think that's such. But I think that's. I don't know how on purpose it was, or that once it became successful, she's like, great, now I can indulge more.
Yeah.
But I think that was such an important thing, just from the book's point of view, but it lends itself to the film so well, is that it makes it much more accessible. Because if the first book was like one of these bad boys,
absolutely,
absolutely not.
I mean, a lot of people like gave up when they got big. Because the first one was like 250 pages.
Yeah,
or something.
and the chapters was like, there's no chapters longer than 12, 15 pages.
Yeah.
No, some of them are as short as that. Yeah, so I reread the first one recently. Well, yeah, no, because we borrowed your book.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so I didn't have these. Borrowed yours book because I wanted to watch it. But now I'm gradually. If anyone's wondering why I do have them all. I'm just slowly bringing them back from my parents' house. But yeah, I think, and then when as a movie adaptation, it's perfect. It's probably one of the reasons why the producer thought this is perfect, because he's probably said, I can adapt this into one movie. You know, the joke is that apparently some people who were some of the studios, there's a lot of crazy ideas that we'll talk about more in the production, bad ideas about to do it. But some people thought that, oh, maybe we can just make one movie to cover all the books.
Oh my God.
I don't know how.
How, yeah. Each year would be, 20 minutes?
It's a tangent, we might cut it out. Do you know the Black Cauldron? If I say the name Tarrant of Caer Dallben, I think it is. Very Game of Thrones, Lord of the Ringsy wizards and magic and stuff. And there's a Disney movie called The Black Cauldron where it's a 90-minute cartoon and they just try and mix, and it is like 3 books put into one.
Does it work?
It's fine as a kid's movie, but you've never heard of it, which shows that it wasn't that successful. But then with my mom, we read the actual books, which they're not actually kids' books. They're quite, there's a lot of violence and death and stuff. But it's like they took 3 books, but it's actually 5 or 6. It's a bit like Narnia.
Oh, okay.
There's 5 or 6 books, but they decided to do that, and I can't think of a case of that ever working. I feel like if that's what you want to do, just let someone else do it.
Yeah.
First day, McGonagall, we see her turn into a cat again.
Yep.
Snape. So we've seen him at the feast.
Yes.
Briefly, but then we get his proper introduction to him. Yeah. And then the flying lesson, one of your favorite scenes.
Yes. Yeah. Great scene. I think it's because, especially when you watch it as a kid, the other ones are like lessons. We all have lessons. This is like very different. This is like PE, but better.
Yeah. And I guess this is, because up until this point, Harry's just he's quite passive, I guess. Whereas this one, both he becomes active and he's very good at it, we find out, which is nice. Obviously, they do say that he's a good wizard. Have you heard this, that apparently Harry doesn't do any spells in the first movie?
Oh.
Yeah. I think some say that it's no offensive spells, but I think it's possible that we never see him do any.
Yeah, like in the lessons and stuff.
Yeah, because I wasn't actively thinking about it the whole time, but whenever you see people do it, obviously you see Ron and Hermione, you see Seamus blow up in his face and stuff like that. And then it's Ron who does the Wingardium Leviosa on the troll. And then I don't think he uses any, like he's obviously not battling anyone because he's too young. So it seems too big a thing to have been by accident. But yeah, so this is probably the most magical thing he does, is being good at it.
Yeah, and it's his first time, I think. He's obviously had conversations with Malfoy and said, I can pick my own friends, basically. But this is the first time that they actually have this, like, full rivalry.
So I wanted to make a point about that, and I was just thinking it, and I thought I'll wait to the characters. But since you brought it up, so obviously I've been doing a deep dive on all of this recently, and 2 very interesting videos I watched. One was about the difference between Snape in the books and the movies, and that he's a lot more likable in the movies than in the books, which is crazy because he still seems...
Still not very likable,
yeah. But they make some very good points about how, he is... I think basically if it was shown on screen, it would be hard to like Snape as much as people do. But another thing is about, some people do say that Harry's a bit of a not wet blanket, but that he might not be the most compelling, interesting character. And this video makes the case that no, he is a very strong character. And one of the examples, I think, in this is the encounter with Malfoy. And it seems obvious that he's going to turn him down. But put yourself in that situation. Yeah, to be fair, he's hung out with Ron, so he knows that he's cool. But Ron's not exactly the cool kid.
Yeah.
And Draco obviously is. And most kids would fall for the Draco charm and like, oh, be one of my friends. He's basically Regina George. Whereas we know that in Mean Girls, she does fall for the charm.
Yeah.
Whereas, he basically offers, you can be my friend if you want to and leave this riffraff. But he has the confidence to stand up to him. And like you say, is one of my favorite quotes, is to say, I think I can tell the wrong people for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
It is quite some... These are some very important beats for the character to like know.
And I guess with the hat as well, when he's being sorted, like, he could just be sorted and not question it, but... He must have seen Malfoy and saw, I don't want to be in that house. I don't want to be associated with that. So, like, ask, please, not Slytherin, not Slytherin.
Yeah. Have you seen The Cursed Child?
Yes.
This is another aside, but I think it's important.
Really enjoyed it. More for the, like, stage than the story, I would say.
Is it a play or is it a musical? Or
It's a play.
It's a play. Because I thought it was a musical, which I like the odd musical. And then I read the 1 or 2 sentence synopsis. So I think I can say it because it's what's publicly available. So it's Harry Potter's son.
Yes, going to Hogwarts.
And gets sorted into Slytherin, right?
Yeah,
That's the premise. So after that, I said, okay, fine, we're going. So I don't know if we booked it yet, but we're going to go see it.
Yeah. It's really good. Like the way that they do magic on stage, you're genuinely like, hold on, how did you do that?
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even think about that. So after the flying lesson, they discover Fluffy, which is quite an important plot point. Then the Quidditch training, obviously McGonagall after the flying lesson takes him to
Oliver Wood.
So Quidditch training, then the Wingardium Leviosa.
Yep.
This is, again, I don't recall how it is in the books, but this is very good. I think it's very good writing on how they put it together, because you get that scene which when you're analyzing it, it's like, okay, this is just a random scene of them doing a spell, but I do think it's nice to see them actually learn a particular spell.
Yeah.
But then that leads to the Wingardium Leviosa.
Yep.
Pissing off Hermione. Then the troll.
To the Halloween.
Yeah, the Halloween. The troll using the spell. And it's
Full
like,
circle.
oh, I guess magic can be useful.
Yeah.
And then becoming besties with Hermione.
Yes.
The troll scene, so they use the Wingardium Leviosa. This is the first action scene.
Yes. Yeah. So the someone has let a troll loose in the castle.
Probably Snape, right?
Yep. You think so? And they're all running around. There's panic. And then I think it's Harry pulls Ron aside and said, Hermione, she's in the bathroom. Yeah. So they run down and
again, bravery. Brave guy.
Yes, yeah. So he could have just followed them back to the dormitories, but he pulled Ron out and says, let's go find Hermione. And then it cuts to her and she's just like been crying in the bathroom, and she comes out and just sees this massive troll, starts screaming, and he's swinging. And yeah, she's on the floor, and eventually they come find her and rescue her basically.
Yeah, and they use the spell because I think he's trying to swing at Harry.
Harry jumps on his back.
Yeah, sticks his wand. That's it. Harry doesn't use his wand offensively, but he sticks the wand into his...
I guess because he doesn't have the magical upbringing. His instinct must be attack rather than use my wand.
That's a good point. Yeah, I've seen it pointed out, but no one's actually explained why. But yeah, and then uses it. And it is quite funny the way the bat gets suspended in midair and then it falls on him. Because despite... We actually haven't seen... I guess apart from the flying... It's not like we've seen an overwhelming amount of magic on screen, so it is cool to actually see them use it in that case, in that situation.
Yeah.
And sets us up quite well for both the ending of this movie and then the subsequent ones of how... Because that is one thing I did find hard in the books, and even after seeing this one, you don't really get it. How fighting with magic actually works. But she'll describe these battle scenes, and until you see a wizard battle scene, you're like, how exactly does this work?
What is this looking like?
Are you crossing wands or? But yeah, I think they've done a great job at. I do still think if someone wanted to be not critical but wanted to make fun of it, it does look a bit silly. All the cheers at each other.
If you see it without the effects, it looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I haven't, and I don't think I want to.
I don't think you do.
But yeah, they do a pretty good job in the final one of having the final battle scene. It's like, wow, this is...
Yeah, you can actually feel there's peril.
Although I'm thinking that, again, jumping way ahead to Deathly Hallows Part 2, you know, when there's the shield and there's all the marauders, the bad guys who were trying to get into Hogwarts on foot, and they just run
over the
and
bridge.
Just think, aren't you wizards? Why do you need to be... It's almost like when people with guns need to charge.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
why are you flying in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you definitely don't want to be thinking too much about you should have used this for that. I think, is there anyone bigger than what's the time thing that she used in Prisoner of Azkaban?
Oh, the time turner.
Yeah, how that could have just solved so many problems.
Yes, yeah. Like, if you kept that, then maybe we could have done some stuff with it.
So that's another, I guess, question lore thing. Is there an explanation as to why they wouldn't use the time turner for any other things?
I think they destroyed a lot of them.
Right.
Or they were taken by the Ministry because they were deemed dangerous. Because I guess if they went into the wrong hands, they could be...
But that does seem like that was a bit of a shortcut, so we need to make this plot work.
But I guess, like, if Voldemort had one, and you'd assume that he would be able to get his hands on one because of his connections and stuff, then he could have turned back this whole thing.
Well, I guess technically he was dead, so he couldn't have. It's one of his minions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, we won't think about that too much.
No.
So they save Hermione. They're all friends. Right after is when they kind of put the pieces together. They kind of establish the whole mystery of Snape's a bad guy. There's this mysterious dog.
It's guarding something.
Oh, remember about... That's when he says about the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
And they put it together. And so, you know, they still don't know about Nicholas Flamel. But this is actually the midpoint of the movie, which from screenwriting point of view is a very important... Not necessarily a turning point, but it's a pivotal point of the movie. And I think it's very pivotal. I think it's very... well structured that at this point we're fully established in the wizarding world. The gang is together, and you know, in the books they literally just say after the troll thing, and they were friends forever after, and they've established the mystery. So it's kind of, we've got all the pieces. Now
you're fully in.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to the top of the mountain. Now let's just kind of ride down. So then we get the Quidditch match, which is one of the most epic scenes.
Yeah, it's one of the ones in the book that when you're reading it, you're like, how are they gonna do this? But they manage it. I mean, if you dig into the actual rules and the points of Quidditch, don't, because catching the snitch kind of changes the whole thing, and that's Harry's job. But yeah, just like the stands and the cheering and I don't know, the flying is very cool.
Yeah, I was saying that with Celia yesterday about that. Basically, it's just a race between the Seekers.
Yeah, essentially.
There is I think it's in the Goblet of Fire one where they go to the World Cup.
Yes, start of the book. Yeah.
That's the one where, is it Victor Crumb?
Yeah, he's a Seeker. He catches it,
but they lose because they were down by so much, which is that Fred and George had the bet on it that they never get their money back. That, as a betting man, that always bothered me. Do you consider yourself a fan of Quidditch?
The sport, probably not. I can't imagine it being. I guess it's the only magical sport they have, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think all witches and wizards are probably like, they have their team, and I think Ron speaks about it a lot. Yeah, but I can't imagine it's that exciting in terms of like the matches if it can be just swung by one player.
So you're not one of those people that's played real life Quidditch?
I have seen people playing it.
Oh.
Yeah, they do it on the common. Odd.
I'm glad we could agree on that. We love the enthusiasm, but it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, just running around with a stick between your legs.
Like, if they really flew, I would get it.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, but I prefer to watch it in the movies.
Yeah. Do you know any of the stories about how they made the scene?
No.
So it took them 9 months to put that together because the special effects were so hard to do. They did this thing they did a lot in Lord of the Rings called previs. So they basically charted out the whole scene, and they made a cartoon or a very like really badly animated 3D model just to figure out the shots. Because this is one thing for those who don't know how movies are made, especially for action scenes, but for most movies, they will, especially for complicated things like that, they will plan out every single shot. Like, okay, we need a 3-second shot of this here and this there. I don't know. Back in the day, I just assumed that we got this sequence, we'll put some cameras and we'll catch. But no, especially for something like this, they'll be like, okay, no, we need one shot of Harry ducking because he's being attacked by a bludger. We need a shot with the goal. We need this and that. And so they planned all that, and that probably took them months. Then they had to come up with, the background, all different special effects. And then I think they got the cast for a few days right at the end to do the final shots. Or maybe they were doing it here and there. But they basically just created these shots one by one and then slotted them in. So when you watch the Quidditch, which I think is 5-10 minutes, it's a fairly long scene. And spoiler, the Quidditch match is actually the one that's most disproportionately long in the movie versus the books. But I think it's because they skipped. There's a second match in the books during in the Nicholas Flamel chapter, which they completely skip over.
They just have the one.
So, which I think is a better way of doing it. Just give us one big action sequence. But yeah, it's crazy to think that they spent 9 months, almost a year, working just on that scene. So they probably had dozens, if not hundreds, of people working just on that. And they do, the director and producer, they do kind of say, looking back, oh, we wish we could redo that scene.
Oh, they don't like it?
Well, they don't like it. It's just that obviously the visual effects evolved dramatically throughout. I'll talk about this a lot more in the production, but they talk on so many things, including this, about how much they learned from the first one, and they just did things very differently moving forward. And obviously technology like that, CGI, evolves a lot over 10-15 years, and they got better at it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure if you watched first movie versus, obviously it doesn't do Quidditch in the final two, but there must be one in the Half-Blood Prince.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, so if you do that next to each other, it's probably night and day. So after the Quidditch match, after the whole Snape and Quirrell thing, they chat to Hagrid, and that's when they tell him that Snape's after them, and he says, no, he's protecting the stone. Nicholas Flamel. Oh, no.
Yeah. Shouldn't have said that.
Then Christmas, the Christmas break. Harry and Ron play chess, which is foreshadowing for later on. Yep. And then Christmas Day. Some pretty epic jumpers.
Yes, knitted by Molly Weasley. I think the Christmas scenes in the first and I don't know. I think the first few movies just feel really Christmassy, and I think this one in particular because they've got a whole setting around Christmas and they open the presents.
And Hogwarts just looks great with snow.
Yeah, so the snow, and there's a scene with like Harry and Hedwig and.
Yeah, I think they use that in the marketing. The scene with Hedwig, and then I think it's also because the dark scenes. When they arrive at the castle, anytime it's dark, that's a bit Christmassy too. Yeah, it sort of goes hand in hand. Exactly. Yeah, because it's dark and it's light. Yeah. And obviously it's dark when it's Christmassy. So yeah, I think all of those are very Christmassy. So I definitely agree that it feels Christmassy.
It's a Christmas movie.
So do you consider Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone a Christmas movie? Not as in you watched it at Christmas, but would you categorize it as a Christmas movie?
Ooh, it's a stretch, but maybe. I feel like they're always on at Christmas, so I don't know if that's because I've like associated it as a Christmas movie because of that.
And then they always used to come out at the end of the year in November, and so they.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what month did this come out? Because
I believe they came out in November, and I think that was their date. Like with Star Wars, they would have them come out at the same time of year. So that's probably a big reason why.
Yeah, it's like association rather than it being like Christmas.
There's a reason. It's not completely random, but good idea by them. Invisibility cloak, one of my personal favorite magical devices. And quite a cool shot when he puts. Obviously,
the little head.
It's the most basic special effects ever. We could do that with like just a green sheet, but it just still looks cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That he then uses very well to go into the library.
Yes.
In the book, the Snape versus Quirrell thing, I think he sees it a bunch of times with them two fighting, but it only happens once here. Then the mirror, which has. Do you know the name of the mirror?
The mirror of Erazed.
Yeah, I call it Chekhov's mirror.
Oh, interesting.
Do you know what Chekhov's gun is?
No.
Okay, so this is one of those things that it's a bit of a nerdy movie thing, performance in general. But once you know it, it means I explained to Steen a couple years ago, and now we make a joke about it all the time. So Chekhov's gun is I think it started off in theater, is because obviously theater is a lot more a stage is a lot more bare bones than a movie set. But the idea being that if you see a set and there's a table, there's plates, there's a jacket, and then there's a gun sitting on the table, the gun will be used. The gun is there for a purpose. So people can refer to a Chekhov's gun literally in a movie. A lot of the time, we're watching. Do you watch White Lotus? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of Chekhov's guns. A couple of characters have come across guns, and so the joke is like, well, obviously these this will have a significance later on.
Yes.
But we now jokingly apply this to everything. So it can be, that was a horror movie I watched. Have you seen Companion?
Yeah.
So there's a corkscrew that they show at the beginning of super over the top fancy.
Yeah, you're like,
which
yeah,
is
that's
then
going to
used
come
to
back.
kill
Yeah.
someone. So here I call it Chekhov's mirror because obviously we spend 5-6 minutes about this.
It's often things, I guess, that you're like, why are we spending so long on this scene?
Yeah.
Or like when they like really zoom in or something.
Yeah. And I think in the books, there's things that might come up that aren't relevant because she's laying the... Even there, though, I don't think she's wasting any pages.
No.
I guess there's world building. There's like telling you how... Like Quidditch, for example, is just there for fun. It doesn't actually serve a
it adds to
purpose.
like the school and the world and...
Yeah, but it's important. It's a part of a lot of people's favorite part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here the mirror, Chekhov's mirror, which obviously becomes later
Do you know
on.
why it's called the Mirror of Erazed?
No.
Because Erazed backwards is desired.
Oh.
Or desire, even.
Wow. No, I didn't
And
know
that's
that.
like the whole
Yeah.
premise of the mirror.
I saw something yesterday about, maybe it wasn't the name of it, but there's like something written on it that links back to something biblical or something like that.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But that makes a lot of sense. I really like the mirror because I think it's the first time he properly interacts with Dumbledore, at least in the movie, isn't it? Second time.
Yeah, I don't think he's really spoken to him. They have the little cheers at the table. I think it's their first.
In the book, does he really not talk to him until then either? That actually seems
I can't think of like an
surprising.
occasion when he would have.
No. Bit weird. I mean, I guess there's no reason for the principal to talk to. But so, it's nice to have that first interaction between Harry and Dumbledore. And then, obviously, it makes total sense that he would see his family. But I think because he's been such a stand-up character now, it's actually almost nice to see a weakness. Because Dumbledore explains that it can drive someone mad and that you need to kind of pull yourself away. I also really like Ron seeing... Because... That's the sort of thing, it can seem corny to be like, oh, you're head boy and everything. But actually, it tells you a lot about his character.
Yeah.
About how he is, the runt of
The
litter.
youngest son, and
So I think it's a cute scene in many ways. And it looks nice.
It looks cool, yeah.
Then Hermione finds out who Nicholas Flamel is.
She does, yes.
Which, do you remember in the books, it's different. When I was reading it. So here she just pulls out a book and is like, oh, I knew I'd seen this somewhere. But in the books, then she doesn't find it anywhere. And it's because when Harry gets
he gets a card, doesn't he?
He gets the card when he's on the train.
Yes.
I don't even know if they say when he first gets it. They probably do. I'm sure she does. But it just seems like it's in passing. But then he remembers later on the card. They go and they find it. And that's, I think, when he says the Philosopher's Stone. And that's when Hermione does all the research and is like, okay.
Okay, then she has something to go on.
Yeah. This next couple of scenes is the most changes. So they change that on how they find the Philosopher's Stone. Then there's the Hagrid thing with the dragon, which they fast forward through.
Yes, yeah.
In the movie, they get caught by Malfoy going to Hagrid and seeing the egg, whereas in the book, they get caught by Malfoy helping deliver the dragon
up to Ron's
tower.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a criticism here. In the movie, they get caught by Malfoy, and then he goes to Professor McGonagall. Filch catches them, Professor McGonagall. They get grounded.
Yep.
And then cuts to them leaving so that's at night, cuts to them leaving the castle at night and going for detention. It makes it seem like it's the same night. It really seems that way, but it's not. Both because it's not logistically, and then when they speak to Hagrid, he says that at this point Norbert's been taken away from him. He has been sent to a colony in Romania, which is what happens in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I'm sorry, you guys did a great job, but if I'm picking one nit, I need it to be 30 seconds at daytime to kind of show that it's a different night. Because if you can figure it out, but it is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Detention in the forest, unicorn, Voldemort, centaur.
Yep. Lots of magical creatures all in one.
Yeah.
Also, can we just discuss that is their detention going into a forest at night time?
Yeah.
With one man who then leaves two of them. It's like, you can have the dog.
Yeah. Who's worse? Yeah. There's just a lot of health and safety. At Hogwarts, which is not being followed.
It's like, they'll be fine.
Then Hagrid playing the flute. He plays Hedwig's theme, which is beautiful. I don't know if they knew that was going to be the song that everyone remembered, because they don't always know. But the fact that he's playing it, I feel like they knew they had a winner there.
Yeah.
Warren McGonagall, that's when he tells them the final bit of the puzzle and they think that it was Snape.
Yes.
But it was Quirrell who gave him the
egg. Playing music to put him asleep, yeah.
Go to McGonagall. I think they also say before, as long as Dumbledore's here, we'll be safe.
Yeah. Dumbledore's not here. Yeah.
We're fucked.
Good luck.
And then down the trapdoor. Oh, the Neville scene.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about this and maybe this is one way because it's very late in the books that Neville becomes a major character, that, important for the story. But I do feel like he needed one or two more scenes because the whole him standing up for himself sort of comes out of nowhere here.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, I think Harry says to him like, "Oh, you need to stand up for yourself," and then then he does, and he basically
against Harry.
But not against me. But it is a cute scene of him.
Yeah.
And how he gets rewarded at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we get onto the points.
Yeah. So then Fluffy... Oh, yeah, that's another thing. In the books, Harry gets a flute from... The flute thing is that Hagrid gave it to him at Christmas.
Yes.
So he uses that versus the harp. And then the adventure gets hardcore with the Devil's Snare.
Devil's Snare, yes.
Do you want to take us through their journey? Well, you can take it from here about how we get to Quirrell.
So they find Fluffy. There's already music playing, so Fluffy is fast asleep, and then they open the trapdoor. And when you watch it again on a rewatch, you can hear the music stop, and you're like, oh, and then the drool comes down, and they jump down, which is just so bold, because it's just like a dark pit. And they're like, yeah, don't know what's down there, but down we go. And they fall into this fleshy plant, basically.
In the book, Ron actually says, "Oh, look, aren't we lucky that this
this
plant's
is
here?"
it.
And Hermione goes, "No!"
It's a terrible plant, and it starts wrapping around them. And basically, Hermione, because she's obviously very studious, recognises it as Devil's Snare, and she says, "You just need to relax, and it'll let you go."
It's so funny.
So she's just like there, relaxing. Harry can like follow her lead, and then Ron's just thrashing around, doesn't know what to do, even though they're trying to tell him no. And then eventually I think it might be different in the book, but in the film, she like puts light onto it basically, and it releases him.
So since you bring it up, so that's what happens in the movie. In the book, I don't think they have the relax thing, but it's but it is the fire. You need fire.
Fire, isn't
and
it?
Hermione, this actually it's actually quite different. It's subtle, but it's an important difference. And so Hermione says, "Oh, we need fire and light to do it. Has anyone got any wood?" And Ron goes, "What are you talking about, wood? You're a wizard."
Yeah.
Like, use a spell. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, sorry."
Yeah.
And then...
It shows the difference because she obviously was brought up a muggle.
Yeah, exactly. And so she does do the spell and gets them out of it. And then obviously one of the best lines in the movie is Ron going, "Oh, lucky we didn't panic." And Harry goes, Lucky
Hermione pays attention in herbology."
In the book, the quote, and so when we do our quotes later, I've actually checked which ones are exactly the same as the books and which ones are slightly different, and this is a slightly different one. In the book, the sticks thing happens, they get out, and then Harry says, I think he just says straight up, "Lucky Hermione pays attention in herbology," and then I forget exactly, but Ron basically says, "Well, lucky that Hermione remembered that she's a witch," and then he rolls his eyes and says, "Looking for," like, he's the one who's incomplete, like, Hermione, like, how? So basically, I think in the book it's just sort of being meant to poke fun at her as being like, she's not always the perfect know-it-all, and she, as you say, and points out that she was brought up. I think you said that about Harry earlier. Sometimes the wand up the nose instead of using it. Yeah. That sometimes their Muggle upbringing shows themselves. But I kind of prefer the way they do it in the movie. So glad we didn't.
Yeah, it is
because that's just Ron's sense of humor over and over. Then the keys.
The keys, yes. So then we come across a room full of little flying keys and a broomstick. I think there's 3 broomsticks in the...
Oh, really?
In the book. I'm sure they all fly. Anyway, Harry hops on because obviously he's a fantastic groomsman.
Youngest secret in a century.
And this is like another thing. So it needs to fit this big old door. And there's only one key that looks like it does. It's like, if you wanted to do this well, they would all look absolutely identical.
Don't they look identical? Because they know it's the right key because the wings have been broken.
Oh, it's the wing that's broken,
But my question, to your point, is how did Quirrell know which is the right key?
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. I think it does look slightly different. Or maybe it's just because it's flying differently and the other's like whipping through.
It's got. I think in both the book and the movie, the wings are broken because he's caught it and used it.
I guess like they're all setting up their own, all the teachers basically set up their own challenge. They would also need to be able to unlock it, so it must have some like unique identifier that they'd be able to find the right key.
So keys. Chess scene. I think I didn't know it until yesterday, but I think this is officially my favorite scene for various reasons.
Yeah, I think it's got like I don't really know when it started, but it's got this like weird cult following now, and it's quotable.
The coin will take me. then you're free to check the king. No. Ron, no! What is it? He's going to sacrifice himself. No, you can't. There must be another way. Do you want to stop Satan getting that stone or not? Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me. Not Hermione.
The reason it became that is because that exchange is so rhythmic. There is just something musical. I mean, it's a chicken and egg thing now.
You can't hear it now without hearing the song.
And I think so. Obviously, there's that, which just there's a lot of memeability in Harry Potter. One of the other bits I remember, one of the first one was this really weird computer animated exchange. It's actually so weird it's hard to describe. But it's basically the "You're a wizard, Harry."
Yes.
I'm a what?
And he's getting like more shaky.
Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Harry, you're a wizard.
Listen here, Hagrid, you fat oaf! I'm not a fucking wizard!
You're a fucking wizard!
I'm sure there's other memes, but like those two things I think are the most...
especially in like early internet days, like that "You're a wizard." There wasn't really much going on the internet, so they would like get traction.
And then, so yeah, it's the throwback. I think it's really nice that Ron gets to do something as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, they all get their own little bit, and he has something that he can fully lead.
And because it's obviously the special effects, but it is quite real, like with the stuff being destroyed and everything. I think it looks, the room looks great.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's dramatic. So yeah, I think it's a great scene.
Yeah, and then when Hermione says something like, "Do you think this is going to be like real wizard's chess?" And then he like tests it out. And he's like, "Yes, Hermione, I think it's going to be exactly like real wizard's chess."
A fun point I found online is obviously chess is a very difficult. Do you play chess at all?
Not well.
But you know the rules?
I know the rules, yeah.
I'm the same. It's a very difficult game to play well, and the fact that they have to be three pieces, that it makes it exponentially harder for him, because obviously chess is all about sacrificing pieces, and he does, but he has to basically protect four pieces in the way he's playing. One thing I thought, maybe it would have been too cocky, but he should have made one of them the king, because by definition they're protecting the king, so that would have made one less piece.
Well, when they turn up, doesn't he, the pieces are already empty?
Are they? I think in the book at least he
chooses them,
and because the pieces walk off the board.
Okay. I know. I have a memory of Hermione walking onto an empty piece, but they may have moved off.
God, and the bit when she's about to move. I don't know if this is in the books, but it's very dramatic. When after Ron gets knocked out,
and she's about
to go, it's like no,
we're still playing.
And then arriving at the mirror, seeing Quirrell, shooketh.
Yes, it's not Snape.
It is a very effective scene about how he drops the whole stuttering thing.
Yes, yeah.
Here's a question, because Quirrell isn't important enough that we won't talk about him in the characters. How long has Voldemort been living in his head, do you know?
I think it's the summer between these two school years.
Okay.
He goes off to
Romania
and
so that's what I thought. Had he always been wearing a turban, or did he just turn up and was like, this is new me?
New me. Yeah, no one questions it.
I mean, I was thinking about that in the context of this question. We don't question it because everyone is so weird in this world. Yeah, of course there's a white guy.
Yeah, maybe it's just a casting thing. Like in the book, did she imagine it would be, I don't know, someone who would wear a turban?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think it's ever explained or thought through.
No.
But I mean, I guess again, everyone's so weird. I mean, when you've got Professor Trelawney working alongside you, I guess you can be as weird as you want.
Yes, exactly. And I think in the books, like Dumbledore wears high heels.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. So Quirrell, quite good at. I'm trying to think if anyone watched this not knowing that he was the bad guy, because they do a very good job at the whole like two sides of it, where it seems like it's Snape, but obviously when you rewatch it and you notice the Quirrell thing at the beginning with the burning of the scar, you notice him doing the incantations during the Quidditch match, but it's an effective twist, even though we'll know it's coming.
I feel like if you hadn't read the books, maybe you'd just be confused. You don't know who it's going to be.
I feel like the average person, our average listener or viewer, might probably read the books once when they were younger, and then they might have watched the movie once or twice, but they might go in and not actually remember exactly.
Yeah, the ending.
I think it could still be effective. But yeah, so it's a good confrontation ending, and then the face. face to
Yes,
face.
the face reveal.
With Voldemort. This is where I said before, I do think the CGI is pretty average.
Not great, yeah.
But it is scary.
Yeah, I guess he starts unwrapping it and you know there's going to be something there, but I guess you don't really know what. So it's quite a shock, especially when I swear it's like slightly retracted and then he stretches out and it's so creepy.
I guess in the book, it's happening because the name of the chapter is The Man with Two
Yep.
Faces. But yeah, and I do enjoy that, again, the mirror coming back and how it was hidden and the pocket stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, the confrontation with Voldemort. One of the key things, or one of the notable things he says is about join me. And at first I thought, I do not remember that being in the books because it very much reminded me of the Emperor in Star Wars.
Okay.
How familiar are you with Star Wars?
Not very, I'm afraid.
So in the original trilogy, the better one, when the Emperor is trying to corrupt Luke, he says it a lot more than Voldemort, but it is one of the themes in these good versus evil thing about join me, come to the dark side.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's like, no, obviously he killed his parents, so fair enough. But I do think in situations like, and obviously he was never gonna, he tries to offer him as a bribe that he's gonna bring his parents back to life and stuff like that. Harry's not getting into it. And stuff like that, again, a bit like the Malfoy thing, but on 100 times the scale. We always take it for granted because obviously this is how people are supposed to behave in books and movies, but it is really brave of him.
Yeah, he's 11 and he stands up to this two-faced man.
Who then pounces on him. Luckily, magic hands.
Yeah, well, magic face. And he starts to crumble. That's a cool shot as well. When
you put that in your...
Yeah. I think he starts touching his face and then he just it's the bit where he takes the step and then he just crumbles and then the smoke comes up.
Oh, this is an important... I think people agree this is probably the biggest goof in the movie versus the book. That he, in the book, is supposed to... I think he doesn't see him die. He gets knocked out or something. So the problem is, you know how the Thestrals, you can only see them when you've seen someone die.
Yes.
And he only sees it in the 5th book after he's seen Robert Pattinson, Cedric Diggory die. And so he's got that thing with Luna Lovegood. But now he has seen someone die.
But is it because... So yes, Quirrell died, but Voldemort as the spirit lives on.
Yeah, but he still saw Quirrell die. So normally in the second one, he should have been able to see the Thestrals.
Yeah.
And I think this is one people agree that, they made a mistake. If that's the only thing that messes up a little bit the chronology.
And I guess at that point, they didn't know that because it's in the 5th book that we get the Thestral link. But they didn't know.
And there's this story that J.K. Rowling did speak to Alan Rickman and explain...
Love this story, yeah.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in his character. But she obviously probably wasn't going through every last detail. And maybe in the script it wasn't clear that he saw him die, so she wasn't able to intervene. Or maybe even in the script he wasn't, and then they said, no, it's going to be cooler if he sees him and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he does pass out eventually.
Yep.
Wakes up in the hospital. Another cute scene with Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Then the Gryffindor winning the House Cup.
Oh my god.
Very conveniently.
What I hate about that scene is Dumbledore runs through all of the scores and then it's like a Slytherin have won. And I know we don't like Slytherin, but they must be so excited. And then he's like, hold on a minute. Hold on, because I got some more points. And then it just tips them over the edge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice happy ending, but so annoying.
Do they do that in every book where that at the end Gryffindor ends up winning because of whatever they've done? Because surely in the Chamber of Secrets they get points for saving Ginny's
Probably do.
life.
I don't think it's as big a thing.
Yeah, but I guess in the first one, because there's actually, especially in the movies where they need to focus on everything else after this. But I don't think they might not even mention the points in the other movies, do they?
No, I don't. In this movie, it's there's a lot of things being 5 points lost, 5 points here. Whereas I think they kind of lost in later movies, maybe because they're not as important.
One thing in the books is it feels like every other page they're being scared about being expelled. Because I mean they keep breaking rules, so fair enough. Yeah. But I feel like in the books, and they do in this movie they do talk about that we could get expelled.
Yes,
Be
Hermione.
worse than dying. But that comes up a couple of times. Or if you pick up this broomstick, you'll be expelled or whatever. But I probably don't think that gets mentioned anymore because they have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
I'll make this quick, but one thing definitely doesn't work in the movies, but I'm not sure if it works in the books even is, as a sports guy, I want to know how the scoring and the points and the league table works for Quidditch. How many games do they play every year? What's the point scoring and stuff? Because I feel like Gryffindor win most of their games in the books, but then Slytherin still seems to win.
Yeah, and we never hear, like in the books you get more Quidditch, like I think you said there was 2 in the book, but we never hear about like Slytherin playing Hufflepuff.
Yes. Yeah, no, you definitely never hear that, which is fair because you're seeing it from their point of view. But then, for example, I'm sure there's a book where maybe they play Slytherin twice. I'm like, okay, so they play every team.
Yeah,
How
home and away, but they're both
exactly.
in the same place.
How often are they playing? Yeah, I want to know, as a sports guy, I would love, maybe I'll find there's a video that explains.
Yeah.
This might be politically incorrect, but maybe, possibly, again, when you said about how this is the only sport, I think it's great that she put it. But J.K. Rowling maybe isn't the most sports-oriented person. So she didn't think about all of the ramifications.
Yeah,
of
she's
having
here's a magical sport. Done. Yeah.
And then the final scene, the going home.
Yes.
But not really.
But not really.
On the Hogwarts Express.
What does he say? Hold on.
I think someone says, isn't it weird going home?
Yeah, Hermione says, like,
says,
it's weird going home, isn't it? I'm not going home, not really.
Yeah, that's a cute
Little
line.
Harry, yeah. He's like finally found like a
His
world
home.
that he belongs in.
And I think that's such an important theme of the books and movie, but that's so understated, because it's not as though he ever says that, but this idea that he has found after living such a horrible life, and he's finally found a world where he fits in such an unlikely way, and he's so happy. Even again, I think it's so well done, because it's not as though he never says, I'm so happy I found somewhere I'm fit in, but
it's little lines like that.
I'm actually going to get a bit emotional saying it, but it's that first night when he's at Hogwarts with Hedwig looking out, and you have it in your quotes, is when he says, I've got presents.
Yeah,
and obviously, Ron and everything is like, what? Of course, presents. But yeah, he's found friends, because that's the thing he never had. And that's the other thing about the Draco, why the Draco thing is so admirable, because he's never had a friend. So you would think as soon as someone, a cool kid, wants to be friends with him, he would go along with it. But no, and so that is one of the things about him being he's such a resilient character, because despite his horrible upbringing, he could be filled with anger at the Dursleys. He could be filled with anger at Dumbledore or Hagrid for not coming to get him earlier. It's not as though he never questions them about why did you leave me.
Yeah.
He questions it in later books about when he's left during the summer. And he definitely gets a lot poutier as he grows up.
Yeah, a bit sassy.
Yeah, sassy, exactly. But you know what? He's a teenager. He's going through some things.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, he is he's quite an interesting character in terms of what he's been through and how he takes it on. And
he seems just like quite grateful.
Yes.
That he's found this world. And he's, I guess, like another theme, even though he has a terrible family and he's an orphan, his parents are dead, the family is a huge theme, because he can pick his own family, and he like gets taken in with the Dursleys, and like Molly mothers him in a way that like with her other children. Yeah. And it's just so endearing. Yes.
Family is a huge one, both the families that we don't choose and the families that we do choose. Some other themes come to mind. The classic ones are good versus evil.
Yeah.
And here how Voldemort is just pure, unadulterated evil in both the films and the books. There's no, I guess actually in the Chamber of Secrets, there's a bit of nuance where we're kind of given where he came from. And that's one of the interesting things, is that his upbringing actually was very similar to Harry's.
Yes, you get a lot more of that in the later books, where it like goes back to he grew up in an orphanage and his horrible childhood, but you get hints that he's always had this like evil tendency even then. Yeah. But yeah, they're so similar, and they choose very different paths. Yeah.
Any other themes?
That's like love.
Yes. Yeah. So
particularly because Harry is protected by his mother's love.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. Is there any other love?
I guess it's like all like eternal platonic love, like friendship and stuff, but we get to the later books when we get like the more romantic love.
Yeah, which honestly is quite corny.
Yeah. You're not watching the movies for that.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, I think in the books it's better because it's more developed. But I feel like in the last one, when him's thing with him and Ginny, or I think there's a thing where Neville just says out of the blue, "Oh, I love Luna, and I'm gonna go look for her." It's like, well, that came out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. They'd like, in some cases, they'd be better just leave it out.
Yeah, they definitely should have. All right, so we've danced around with it, but now let's talk about the cast. So the obvious
Yes.
thing is to do kids, and then we'll do adults.
Okay.
So what do you think? We'll start with the kids. What are your thoughts on rewatching it on the child actors?
So I think it's obvious they were cast for their looks. Let's say that. I mean,
As in their looks, good looks, or the way they look?
the way they look, like, so I guess because it's based on a book, they have like certain tick points that they need to make. And obviously we've mentioned how Harry's eyes are the wrong colour, but he does look like the little orphan child that he should. And people always complain about them being terrible child actors. And yes, they're not perfect, but they're not terrible. Some scenes more than others, you can like see it, but I think they do like a decent job.
I agree. As I said, I had this idea in my head that they weren't great from when I was a kid. Maybe I was just bitter. Maybe I wanted to be Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I would have been too tall, but
I mean, they did open casting for all the roles.
I know, and so that goes perfectly into that apparently, I think Ron and Hermione, they did a wide search, and they both have cute stories about, I was just little Miss Nobody, and my drama teacher recommended
Yeah.
I do it, and then I went to it, and I think Emma Watson was like the finalist with someone else. I forget her name, but she is now an established actress, but she was just a bit too old, and Emma Watson got it. Especially Ron and Hermione seem like Rupert Grint and Emma Watson seem like they're basically their characters.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like very good casting versus just having grown up with them as those.
Wow, that's true. I hadn't thought.
Because like particularly when you read the later books, you already have that visual in your head.
I think it's more the first bit, and then obviously because they were child actors, so it was probably 90% their personality, 10% acting skills.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've all grown up to be good actors.
Mm-mm.
One interesting thing is I'd seen interviews obviously from later years with Emma Watson where she basically says, "Oh, I am Hermione. I'm such a nerd and everything." But then actually, so in the behind the scenes, they go between. They've obviously made this documentary late, maybe even when the last movie came out. But they're using interviews from them and footage from when they were kids, which is very cute.
Oh.
And when she's a kid, she says, "Oh, I'm not all like this. I'm a bit of a tomboy." She says all these things, which basically, and then they cut to the older. She's like, "Yeah, I don't know why I said that." She's like, "I
I'm
lied."
exactly the same,
She's
yeah.
like, I was exactly probably because it wasn't cool to be like, "I'm a nerd
Yeah.
who reads all the time." But yeah, she seems, and everyone says that even her acting, the way she was a complete nerd about it. She wanted notes, she wanted homework, she was the best in school.
Aw.
Where and Ron he just seems like a little lad.
He rocks up, does his scenes.
Yeah. So the two of them, they seems like they cast them was pretty straightforward, but it seems like they did really struggle for Harry. They had thousands and thousands of auditions. Do you know the story about how they found him?
No.
So, Daniel Radcliffe's mum was a casting agent, and apparently he was an actor. He'd been in David Copperfield, so he was an actor and had said, "Oh, I want to be in it," and his parents said no because probably as an industry professional,
You know,
they were like,
the
"This is
work,
gonna
yeah.
fuck up your life," and. You know what it did? Like Daniel Radcliffe has very well documented. Like he became an alcoholic and stuff. So
Yeah.
Mum and dad.
Because it's their. I mean, I don't know how old they were when they were cast, but it was their whole childhood.
Oh yeah, I think it's something like they were 10, 11, 12 when the first one was shot. So yeah, they made him for the next 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's their entire childhood, and they were back to back. They said that literally, obviously, they finished shooting. Then there would be post-production for a few months. But they said that the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone came out on a Friday. The director claims on Monday they were shooting Chamber of Secrets. So
Wow.
obviously they had a few months off while they were doing post, but they were very much every year they were shooting. But so the story with Harry is that he wanted to. His parents said no because it's going to be too big a thing. The mum knew David Heyman from just the industry, and they were at a show, presumably in London, together. And they bumped into each other and just caught up, and Daniel Radcliffe was there.
I was there.
And David Heyman, the story that both tell is quite cute, seeing David Heyman and then young Daniel Radcliffe. David Heyman just says, "I just couldn't watch the show. I just kept looking back at this boy, and I thought,
It's
this is Harry
Harry."
Potter." And then Daniel Radcliffe's like, "Yeah, I was at this show, and basically this creepy man kept looking at." He doesn't say that, but that's kind of the comedic twist on it. And then he auditioned. It's not as though they gave him the role immediately. He auditioned, he went through it, and then he finally got it. But yes, and I think that they used the David Copperfield tape to kind of convince people, and I think that's when they showed it to J.K. Rowling, and she said, "Yeah, like this is Harry." But yeah, as I said, I remember it being a story in the press about like the search for him, and it was such a big thing. And they were struggling. I think they were 2 months away from beginning of shooting, and they still didn't have their Harry.
Wow.
So how would you rank, grade? Yeah, I'll tell you my take, and you can tell me yours.
Okay.
I think Ron is the better of the 3 actors, but I think he has the easiest role. I think he's basically just playing himself. He's funny. He's charming.
He's the class clown, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's the easiest thing. Then I'd say Hermione, because I do think sometimes it feels overacted, but she has to do so much more. Like, she has to give the sass. She has to have like emotional arc. Like, because Ron doesn't. That's the thing. Ron doesn't change. He's just Ron the whole time.
Yeah.
Unless he's brave and stuff. So, and then Harry, I do think the performance is the weaker of the 3, but it's the hardest role to do.
Yes. I agree that Ron is the best. Yeah, I would probably agree with that order. I think Hermione gets better at a steeper gradient than Harry.
Yeah.
I think in the later movies, it's particularly apparent that she's got a lot better. And there are some scenes where he's needing to be quite emotional and not hitting it quite right. But yeah, I agree. Ron has the easy role. I don't think he has really many emotional scenes.
No, he if anything, there's some of the later movies he gets quite off-putting. I think Goblet of Fire, when he's jealous of Hermione
gets very
and stuff,
like moody,
toxic. But
yeah,
I mean, it sucks, but that is probably quite realistic of how boys get at 15,
Yes,
16
yeah.
when they fancy someone. And he's very. I wish he was a bit more confident later on when he does fancy. I mean, but it's the books. But anyway,
yeah.
in this one, I think we can agree on the order. But I don't think Daniel Radcliffe is terrible or anything. There's one. So it's interesting when you rewatch it, knowing that the last scene is the first scene.
Yeah.
He definitely feels weaker there than he does at other parts in the movie. And I pinpointed his worst scene, but I know why. Is when he's talking to the centaur after the unicorn. Is awful. But it's because he's probably not talking.
Acting to nothing.
Exactly. And that's Chris Columbus, one of the reasons he was picked for it was because he had experience with kids, with Home Alone 1 and 2 and Mrs. Doubtfire. And it's almost a bit harsh in the behind the scenes how much they complain about how hard it was to direct. He talks about how like one of the first days, I think it's the Quidditch scene, and how they said action and half the kids didn't even know what action meant.
Oh,
and
wow.
it seems like it was a real challenge I think they learned a lot, and all the kids say we learned so much, but it was a challenge. Some people have said that the kids were quite well. I think they were hard to direct, but they were very well behaved.
Good.
But yeah, you can almost see their learning curve. And so some of the scenes when they're with really good actors, they get really good stuff. But unsurprisingly, an 11-year-old actor having to probably, they say sometimes they're like opposite a mop when they have to like, do CGI stuff. So I think that does stand out. And again, I don't mean to shit on him here, but I just think, if anything, it makes you appreciate the other scenes are like pretty decent.
Yeah.
And there's a really cute thing in the behind the scenes. I think it's when they go to see McGonagall right before they go down the trapdoor, and they're doing the lines, and you hear the director. It's like a 30-second clip, and it's like, oh, I need you to say this like it's the worst thing in the world, and you just see Daniel Radcliffe repeat it and stuff. And yeah, it is. Everyone knows what a director is, and all great directors, but you don't actually see what they do. And it is actually, it can be handling Leonardo DiCaprio, or Denzel Washington, but it can also be how to get the most out of an 11-year-old actor who's inexperienced and stuff.
Especially when they don't know, because they say like, oh, this shot took 30 takes or whatever. Obviously, they need to direct and be like, okay, that was good, but do this bit different. It's like, how do you kind of like say that to a kid without them getting upset?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like managing someone, but on a whole other level. Great that you brought that up, because again, it was probably Chris Columbus that said that they got into the habit of just having multiple cameras on everyone for every shot, and they would just go through it over and over, and apparently they had to splice stuff up quite a lot. And he says, you can really see these scenes when they have conversations that it cuts a lot between them. Honestly, I'd read that, heard it, and then when I watched it last night, I'm only realizing now I didn't notice it. So the editors obviously did a great job, but I think that's the point, is that sometimes they would go through 30 takes, and it's like, okay, this one is kind of okay, and you've just got to move on with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not sure if it was by design that, okay, we've got unexperienced actors, so we need the absolute best actors as the adults. But whether it's by design or not, that's what they ended up doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got the absolute cream of the crop of British actors of that generation So obviously Alan Rickman, Robbie
Amazing.
Coltrane, Dame Maggie Smith, and Richard Harris for Dumbledore. Fun fact, Richard Harris was David Heyman's godfather. So bit of nepotism. You only think
Connections.
you only think it happens with kids, but sometimes old people get hired because of
Yeah,
that.
very cool. Also, one of JK's requirements for the movie was to have full British cast.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which
So
I think it would ruin it if there was a bad accident in there.
I 100% agree. And you read that and you think, well, obviously, but then you read the details and they really tried to get British actors in. Like, apparently there was one guy who was very far for Harry Potter and she just vetoed it and said, no, he's American.
Yeah.
So we're going to do later on the modern recasting. We're going to do that as bonus content, so make sure to watch that on the YouTube channel where we're going to recast we're not going to do the kids, we're going to recast the 4 main professors with people if the movie was made today. But the interesting thing is they're doing that because they're casting a TV show. But the first person they've announced is John Lithgow as Dumbledore. So clearly the British thing is out the window.
Yeah. Well, it's been made by HBO, right? So...
Yeah, but it's still, which is Warner Brothers. It's all the same company.
Oh, okay. So I guess that requirement has gone.
Well, I mean, maybe she's just like, I'm worth $1 billion now. It doesn't matter.
I don't really care.
We'll see whether we've decided to stick to the rule or not.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she insisted on that. It was a huge thing. Apparently, have you read anything about Americans who wanted to, like adults who wanted to be in it?
No, who was it?
Robin Williams wanted to be Hagrid.
Oh, he would have made a good Hagrid.
Yeah. JK had some very strong ideas about people, but I think Alan Rickman was the one that she basically said it needs to be him.
Yeah, he is Snape.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like she might literally have had him in mind when she wrote the books, because that's not been said anywhere, but all the drawings of Snape, because there were illustrations, everyone says it looks like Alan Rickman. So, yeah.
He plays that role so well.
Yeah, that's going to be, and that, to be fair, all the recastings were hard for our game, but that's going to be the hardest. That's going to be the most criticized one in the TV show. So it'll be interesting to see what they go for. So yeah, well let's talk about him then. So why is he so good?
I think he just plays that like evil kind of eccentric, broody guy really well. Like there's a scene where I think it's their first potions class and he's like picking on Harry and he's got that like low drawling voice. And he does like envisages that like scary teacher that you're always quiet and you kind of want to avoid.
Yeah, but he's not pure evil. I mean, he is, but he's also got so much sass.
Yes. I think we said briefly earlier, JK did tell him his whole story arc, and you can tell when you watch the earlier movies that he's aware of that and he's not going pure evil, because otherwise it'd be too hard to like come back from.
And he does so much with his face, from the first shot of him at the table to when he talks to them before they go down the trapdoor, and his
he's
realization.
got a snarl almost.
But then when he realizes stuff, but he knows that he has to hide it and all that sort of thing. All the teachers, well, I mean, not Hagrid, but all of them have a really good amount of sass. That's got to be the word. Apparently, a lot of these adult actors, unlike the children who were all desperate to be in it, a lot of these were hesitant. And apparently Alan Rickman was one of them. But as was the case with others, his godchildren begged him to do it.
Yes.
So he did it. Same with Richard Harris. He wasn't sure. And then everyone was worried he was going to say no. And then he just turned around and said, I'll do it. And then he said that it was because his granddaughters pushed him to do it. So he was, as you mentioned, he was in this one and then the second one, but he died before the second one came out. How do you feel about the two Dumbledores? Do you prefer him or the one who replaced him?
I think I prefer him, but like we said earlier, he leaves Harry to like fend for himself. He has an edge to him, and I don't think this Dumbledore would be able to play that as well, particularly in the later movies.
I agree, and I do think he is too old. He does really feel like, I don't know how they ever thought that he was going to live long enough to.
You can't imagine him like doing that cave scene.
That's exactly what I thought, and exactly that. And because Richard Harris, he was only in his 70s when he died. But do you know much about his career?
No.
So he had he was known as like a playboy in his 30s and 40s. Apparently he was known more like almost what Russell Brand was to us when we were growing up, and he was just as much known for his like, yeah, that sort of stuff, like womanizing. He was like drugs, alcohol, everything. So you think, oh, it's like really sad, but then you hear about his lifestyle. It's like, God, it's a miracle he made
You
it
made it this
that
far.
But it is also crazy to think that someone, again, obviously Russell Brand's been cancelled now, so hopefully he's never a Dumbledore. But to think that someone, again, nothing illegal or immoral, but someone can 50 years later be recycled into someone as lovable as Dumbledore. Richard, I had made notes somewhere about what all the main what they were famous for. I think Richard Harris was nominated twice for an Oscar, but he didn't win. Alan Rickman never nominated for anything for an Oscar.
Oh, really?
But obviously he's got to have 3, arguably 4 of the most epic roles ever of, top 100. So obviously Snape, his Love Actually character, and then obviously Hans Gruber, then Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah. But he's not like the main. I guess you're nominated often for being like the main character.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not arguing he should be nominated for Oscars. I'm just meaning
it's like iconic.
Yeah, and almost you would prefer to. Yeah, put it this way: no one of our generation, I guarantee, remembers the movies that Richard Harris was nominated for. Whereas every one of our generation will remember those roles that Alan Rickman was. Yeah, Hans Gruber, Snape. It's not the most iconic, but it's very memorable. His role in Love Actually.
Yeah.
And then
he's like the villain in Love Actually. Like.
Well, he's the villain in most of these things.
Yeah.
And then, but that's the irony is and then he's the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where he's a proper villain there.
Yeah.
He's obviously a faux villain here. He's a proper villain in Die Hard. But I feel like, especially women, if you showed them those 4 movies and you said which one is worse, they'd say the Love Actually.
Yeah.
We will be doing Love Actually one of these days for sure. So yeah, he nominated for a bunch of awards and very appreciated, but just never down the critically acclaimed roles. Robbie Coltrane, as far as I know, was never nominated. What do you know him from other than Hagrid?
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't really think of any movies that come to mind as like his big ones.
So the main one I know is he was in 2 Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. He was in GoldenEye and The World Is Not Enough. One of the Pierce Brosnan.
Who
ones.
did he play?
He's like one of the
sides.
Yeah, like someone who helps him, who's a bit dodgy but is on his side.
Oh, okay.
I remember him just eating a lot of caviar as well.
Fair.
But yeah, he's one of those. Obviously, that a bunch of stuff was like known. I don't think he was internationally known as the others. Definitely not Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman in Die Hard, that was his first movie role.
Really?
I think all of these, like most British actors, they get
into it.
Yeah, they in theater and then they get in.
Yes.
That's where they get their bona fides. And then Dame Maggie Smith, she did win an Oscar. I think 1 Oscar for Best Supporting Role. But yeah, critically acclaimed. I mean, I don't even really know. I just know she's famous. I don't know what the roles that she was famous for before this and Downton Abbey.
She's so good in this, Downton Abbey.
But yeah, I saw...
Is she more of a TV?
I think she's
Downton
just done a lot.
Done
yeah, but you got to think, this is all... For someone like her who lived, I think she was in her 80s when she died.
Yeah, she's
also,
done
you
a
realize
lot.
all 4 of these are dead. All 4 of the main adult actors have all died.
Shows, very sad, but shows how old the movie is as well.
Yeah, and also just that they chose older actors.
Yes, yeah.
I think Alan Rickman's the one that died. That he was very young.
He was quite young, yeah.
Very sad. But that just makes the recasting in the TV show even more problematic. So Maggie Smith as McGonagall is just iconic, and recasting her, I think that was actually the hardest for me because it needed to be someone of a certain age, with a certain poise, with a certain sass. And I'll read them. I don't have them in front of me now when we do the recasting, but in the behind the scenes, the producer and director described in like 1 sentence how each one of them needed to be. And in all of them, it was kind of, you needed to do 2 things really well. And I think in the case of McGonagall and Hagrid and Dumbledore was they needed to give a certain, confidence or intimidating, but also the warmth side. Yeah. And that's the thing with her, you can really tell is that,
she's like firm but fair.
Exactly. Firm but fair, but also cares deeply. She's, because that's someone like Filch, he is just, no, he's not evil, but he's just a dick. He doesn't care about anyone's actually, or he's very one lane. He's like, I have a job to do and I'm going to do it. Whereas she, I guess her one job is to protect the children, but she's the sort of person who will protect you by giving you detention, and maybe she didn't choose the detention.
Yes.
But take points away from you because, tough but fair.
Yeah.
And then Robbie Coltrane is just he's such a great character to lead Harry into the world.
Yes, yeah. I think also because he doesn't follow the rules as much, and he can show him kind of like both sides a little bit more.
Yeah, he's cheeky.
Yes.
He doesn't have the sass like the others, but he's definitely got cheeky.
Like how different it would be if like McGonagall had gone to pick him up.
Yes.
It would just be like a different showing of the world where he was like, oh, come on, Harry, you can come see this. Don't mention this to anyone at Hogwarts. Yeah, it would just be very different. He's fun.
That's actually one thing. I thought it was only in the movies. I realized it's in the book. But I do think in the plot in the movies, they rely too much on Hagrid slipping up. Because it happens at least 4 times that they find stuff out because he's clumsy. Which I think it's funny once or twice. But that is actually one of the things, probably one of the things, the plot that I find the most frustrating, especially on rewatching it, is that, so if he just kept his mouth shut, none of this movie would happen.
What does he give up? He gives up the music for Fluffy.
Well, the first thing is that he's very transparent. He doesn't try to hide at all the Philosopher's Stone, or what it is. Then he betrays that it is the Philosopher's Stone that's being hidden under Fluffy. Mm-hmm. He acknowledges Fluffy.
He says Nicholas Flamel.
He says Nicholas Flamel, and then he tells them how to put Fluffy to sleep. I think those are the 4 things. So yeah, he's very charming. So just a couple of fun things. So Tom Felton, who plays Malfoy, I think he's very good. He was the most experienced child actor.
He's quite a bit older than, he's like 3-4 years older.
I didn't know that he was older. I just know that he'd been in a couple of things, so he was the more experienced of them. This is a funny thing that just came in my research. Apparently, it's not clear if it was after the first one or whatever, but Tom Felton obviously they got a lot of fan mail, but he got a very particularly strange fan mail of someone who said they wanted to adopt him. The guy said he would change his name to Lucius Malfoy, and he could change his name to Draco Malfoy, and they could live as father and son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when you up your security after getting that. The no non-UK or Irish rule of JK, there was one exception. I was going to put this in the quiz, but I thought it would be a bit too hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's Chris Columbus, as his director's trademark, likes to put his daughter in his movies, who's obviously American. She'd been in Home Alone 2, 9 Months, Stepmom, Harry Potter 2, and Rent, which are all things that he directed. And so she was in it, non-speaking role.
Okay.
And I think I read there's a small person who plays one of the maybe goblins or something who's American, but again, doesn't speak or anything. So I think they were okay with non-speaking roles. But yeah, other than that, they
Is she just like a background actor?
Yeah. Susan Bones.
Oh, Susan Bones.
Who's that? Is
she's one of the girls that's sorted in the...
Oh, yeah, I guess she's the first one in the alphabetical, but yeah, that's who she plays.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but do you have the Blu-ray of Harry Potter?
I do have the Blu-ray. I actually bought it as a present for my dad and then took it myself.
Because at the moment they're on Netflix, but you never know when that's going to last.
Exactly.
They belong to Warner Brothers. HBO could put them on HBO Max and everything. So the point is, you guys really need to have the Blu-ray set of Harry Potter, all 8 movies, all the behind the scenes. But don't worry, I'm not trying to get you to go buy it. I would like to give you guys this box set. The way to do that is we're trying to build our following. So what I'd like you to do is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So whether you're watching it on YouTube now or you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast, please subscribe. Take a screenshot of you having subscribed. Then follow us on Instagram and DM us. So Dom's Film Club on Instagram. DM us the screenshot that you've subscribed and you'll be entered into a draw. We're going to do the draw 1 month after this episode drops. Completely random. Everyone will have an equal chance. And then we'll get in touch on Instagram with the winner and we will send you this Blu-ray box set of the whole Harry Potter series. And you know what? We're going to be doing all of the other movies throughout the years on this podcast. And we're going to be doing that giveaway every single time. So, as I said, subscribe to YouTube, take a screenshot, follow us on Instagram, DM us your follow, and you'll be entered into the draw. Good luck. So the script, obviously it was based on the book, which is very helpful, but it's also a challenge because you both need to be faithful to the story. You use some of the lines, but not all of the lines. So it was a very close collaboration. So the screenwriter was Steve Kloves, but then it does seem like David Heyman, the producer, and Chris Columbus and they all three of them leaned a lot on J.K. Rowling. But it does seem like it was a very successful collaborative effort. Apparently, Chris Columbus, when he got the job, he had written a spec script himself. Like, he'd written stuff before, but basically when he went in for the interview, he said he was like, I actually have a vision for how this is going to look, and he really wanted to get it. I'll talk about him more in the production. But yeah, so the four of them wrote it together. I've now done some stats, so we're going to do a bit of Dom's data.
Love it.
So I have looked at all 7 books and 8 movies and seen how many pages the movies were, how long the movies were, to kind of figure out which movies are condensing more or less. So they spent an average of 39 seconds per page in this book, which if you consider in a script, roughly, you consider that 1 page equals 1 minute. So getting to 2/3 of a minute for a page of a book is actually pretty good.
Yep.
And that is the important thing. That number doesn't mean much, but the point is to compare. Mm-hmm. So that is the most in the franchise. Harry Potter 2, they get to 38 seconds per page. So basically just a smidge less.
Yeah.
Harry Potter 5, The Order of Phoenix, which I'm pretty sure is the longest book, they spend 10 seconds per page. So they're spending a quarter. So that means they have to cut a lot out of that one.
Yeah.
And then even in the last 2 movies, so you consider they had 2 movies to do 1 book, they still only spend 27 seconds per page.
Wow.
So yeah, this one, they definitely stayed very close. There's only a couple of scenes but I think it's so important given it's the first one.
And it's quite dialogue heavy compared to the later ones where there's like battles.
Yes,
and...
absolutely. So I think that's a very important thing to think about. And if it feels like it's a lot closer to the book, this one, than the others, it's because it is.
Yeah. But there's still like notable scenes like that they have cut.
So actually, yeah. So I now then went deeper just on this one where I took the chapters, same thing. I looked at the pages and I looked at how long they were. So do you want to guess which chapters they went faster or slower through? I think I already told you.
You've told me the Quidditch one was like...
So the Quidditch one was the most. So they spent... So the average for the film, sorry for all the numbers, guys, but this is what I do for a living. That's my day job. For the movie as a whole, they do 39 seconds per page. For the Quidditch, they did 80 seconds per page. So they spent double. Obviously, I'm talking entire chapters here, so the Quidditch one. I mean, it's called Quidditch. And I think one of the reasons they did that is because they took 2 Quidditch games and they gave just 1. So, yeah, do you want to guess the others that they go quicker or slower?
Some of the lessons must have been drawn out a lot.
So the lessons are just... So I've taken full chapters, so the lessons are just sort of put in there. I haven't done it scene by scene. So the fastest one is the Nicholas Flamel discovery scene, because it's more steps in the book, whereas here it's just 1 scene. And then the Norbert Egg thing, because obviously here it's basically 1 scene, whereas there it's multiple scenes and stuff. So those are actually back-to-back scenes. They add up to 17 pages in the book, but it's 5 minutes in the movie. And an example of going much slower is they spend 11 minutes on the Sorting Hat chapter, which is 11 pages in the book. So 17 pages for 5 minutes versus 11 minutes for 11 pages. And then actually, I was quite surprised. The beginning, they go quite quickly. The first 3 chapters, I guess because of all the background stuff and all the story about other Harry magic. You him ending up on the roof and his hair and everything, they cut that out. But then the last 2 chapters, other than the Quidditch, are the ones that they spend more time on. So they spend...
Down in the dungeon.
And what happens afterwards. The trapdoor even. So that's 31 pages and they spend 34 minutes on it. So more than a minute a page, which I think is fair because the chess scene, I think, is probably half a page in the book, but they probably spend 3 or 4 minutes on it. Yeah. As they should. So no complaints here. It's just, I think it's interesting to see how they decided to adapt it. Out. And the fact is they do hit every scene, just more or less, whereas I'm pretty sure if you look at Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, they probably just 10, 20 pages, remove that character. Yeah. Do you know one of the few characters they did get rid of completely?
Peeves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they had hired someone, they'd signed him for multiple movies, they filmed stuff, and then they just decided to cut him out.
Yeah. It is something in the book that I'm like, how would they actually, because there's no visual of him, it's just like a gap in my head when I'm reading because I'm like picturing all the other characters. Like, what does he actually look like, and how would they make this work?
What is a poltergeist? Is
it like a ghost thing?
I thought it was picturing him as a ghost.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing that we actually haven't touched upon yet. So I think we've both managed to say Philosopher's Stone every time.
Yes.
because we're in the UK and it's a British book. But obviously, so do you know the breakdown of where and when it said Sorcerer's Stone?
I know. I've seen there's 2 cuts of the scene where Hermione's saying like Nicholas Flamel, he has the Philosopher's Stone, and then they had to refilm it with Sorcerer's Stone.
So every time, so for those of you that don't know, the books, when they were released in the US, they decided to change it to Sorcerer's Stone. I remember my dad very judgmentally saying, oh, American kids are too thick to know what a philosopher is. But one of the arguments, and it's probably a bit of both, is that Sorcerer sounded more exciting and magical than Philosopher. Because I get that it is technically true, but a Philosopher's Stone actually hasn't got much to do with philosophy. So
no, it's just
it might sound like, oh, it's a stone of wisdom. So they decided to make it more exciting and to make it more basic. And then obviously for continuity, they kept it going. So they dubbed it Philosopher to Sorcerer. Mm-hmm. It said 6 times.
Okay.
Which isn't a huge amount.
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't a huge thing. When they made, I don't know if it's true with the books, but I know with the movie that it was Philosopher's Stone everywhere in the world except for the United States, India, and the Philippines.
Random.
For some reason.
Okay, fair enough.
There were a couple of other words in the books that they changed. Like I think Seamus says mom with M-A-M,
yeah.
and they changed that to mum. And I think there's something weird like they changed crumpet to muffin, like really niche things.
I've heard people like Americans who read the books as kids. There's words in there like trainers for sneakers that they just didn't know what they were, and they didn't know if it was like, okay, is that a weird Harry Potter thing, or is that like a British thing, or like really I think one of them was treacle tart. They're like, is that just like a Harry Potter pudding?
That's funny. Now we'll just go through our favorite quotes. A lot of them we've already mentioned, and so for each one of them I've checked whether they were in the book or not. So the first one you had was the how many presents?
Yep. So he comes downstairs. How many are there? And then I think Vernon says 36. Counted them myself, but last year I had 37.
And then she says, "Oh, we'll get you 2 more."
Yeah.
Which, as I said, tells you everything you need to know. So that one, it might not be verbatim, but it's pretty close as in the book.
Yep.
Then Fine Day Sunday.
Oh yes, Fine Day Sunday. No post on Sunday.
So that one, the interaction is in it, and this was I assume these were all, because every time I hear a good line, it's like, yeah, they don't get that much credit. I'm sure J.K. Rowling wrote them all, but actually, some of the best ones were written specifically for the film. So this one is a much less funny, where he just says, "What's the best thing about Sunday?"
Yeah, you are, Harry.
Yeah. Whereas the Fine Day Sunday,
Yeah.
with obviously we didn't mention them because they're only, but they were the Dursleys. All 3 of them are amazing.
Yeah.
Doing it, just being the worst people.
Worst human beings, yeah.
The guy who played Dudley said that when he was hired, they asked if he could send a bunch of his kids' photos over, and he didn't really question why. And then he arrived on set at this horrible house, just decorated, gaudy, and his pictures were everywhere. And he was like, "Oh, this is really creepy." I do always wonder how. Obviously, he was a kid, but when you see an adult and there's kids' photos. And I never heard it confirmed, but obviously they must ask, give us real ones and we'll Photoshop, into with your parents and stuff like that.
Yeah, crazy.
Then, "You're a wizard, Harry."
You're a wizard, Harry, a classic.
Which is in the book. "We'll take the lot," which is just a great movie one.
Yeah.
Not in the book.
Interesting.
It says he orders everything, but not "we'll take the lot."
It's iconic. He's got his little hand of gold. I guess it's the first time he's ever had money, so he buys all the sweets.
Yeah. Then, we talked about this a few times. You don't want to go, this one I've got the full quote, "You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort of people. I can help you there. I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks."
Yeah.
Not in the book.
Oh, but is the interaction?
So, they have 3, and basically all, I think it's 3 of their interactions are condensed into one.
Yeah.
So I think in the first one, they don't really have a confrontation because he just introduces himself. Actually, maybe they only have 2. Maybe they only have Diagon Alley and
the train,
and maybe there isn't one before the Sorting Hat, and they do it, and they probably condensed it. And I'm sure he says something along those lines, but it's a very particular way of doing it. Apparently, also this, I'm not sure if it's true, but you know how he presents himself. He introduced himself as Malfoy, Draco Malfoy. People say that's a reference to James Bond. Which I think, why would you want to reference that with Draco Malfoy? I think it's just him being a little bit of a prick.
Especially because I think you know him as Malfoy.
Yeah.
So it's probably like introducing him as that name.
Then this is probably one of the best ones. I think you've got the killed or expelled line.
Oh yes, Hermione says. So they've just
escaped
Fluffy. And she says, "I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another idea to get us killed or worse, expelled."
Yeah. So I think the going to bed is slightly different in the book, but the crux of it, or worst expelled is in the book.
Perfect.
Then the Leviosa.
Leviosa. No, it's Leviosa. Leviosa.
So them doing that in class is in the book. The Ron imitating her afterwards isn't. I think.
Oh, so how do they fall out?
I think they fall out because they are arguing in class.
Okay.
But I think they make it much more
Obvious.
visceral and it's such a school.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ron's being a dick, but you can also see where he's coming from. You can see where Hermione's coming from. And then the look, he knows his mummy with Hagrid.
Oh, the little
and
Norbert,
dragon.
yeah.
That one's in there. Pull yourself together, man. You had as one of yours. Not out of Filch as the Hagrid.
Yeah, pull yourself together, man. You got to have your wits about you.
So that one's not in it because obviously Norbert has actually been. It's the sequence of events is different there, so that scene is kind of
it's
not real.
There.
Oh yeah, then we talked about it. The few lucky we didn't panic.
Yeah. Lucky Hermione pays attention in herbology.
So yeah, this one I explained that it's slightly different, but it is funnier in the film because it's just classic Ron. The few glad you didn't panic, even though you did. Then the Alas Earwax.
Alas Earwax, yeah. Dumbledore eating the Bertie Bott's every flavour beans.
Have you ever eaten those?
Yes, I did get some. Didn't get an earwax one.
I've never done it because that's one of the things that I do remember as a book. Like, why would anyone do
Why would
this?
you buy these? You get the chocolate frog.
Yeah, exactly. Chocolate frog, I get. And then obviously, I think it is the last line. I'm not going home, not really. Line's not in the book.
Oh.
So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that they did put in some work writing the script. Moving on to the production. So obviously, like I've mentioned, it was very reminiscent for me of Lord of the Rings about the amount of detail. Obviously, more there with the scenery and stuff, but just here, everything from the goblins. So, for example, they really struggle on how would they make the goblins look because goblins have been done so many different ways. And finally, they decided because they couldn't find a unique look to do all their goblins, so they decided to make all their goblins different. So every single goblin has a distinctive style. So their nose might be different, their hair might be different. So that was a cool detail. I mentioned before lots of things that they learned from doing it. So the Dursley house, for example, they started shooting it. They shot it in a real estate, and I think they had a lot of problems, including the owls. Because the owls, they did have a bunch of real owls. So I think they needed to do some reshoots. So they just built the house on the studio. So I think at the studio experience,
they have it there.
They have it there. But I think they built 5 houses to do the street, and then obviously they just green screened the rest. That was actually a big thing that they did a lot of on-site filming. So they went to a bunch of cathedrals or parks. They did a lot of outdoor shooting, but it was just so inconvenient that I think one of the production designers said that actually a lot of the rest of the movies are done in studios on sets because it was just so much easier hurting everyone and stuff. But a lot of the first one is done on particular locations.
Yeah, that's cool.
Another fun production, the candles in the Great Hall.
Floating candles, yeah.
They really had floating candles on the set. So they had real candles that were being held by strings.
Oh my God.
But it was a logistical nightmare to
I can imagine you.
keep them lit. And then I think one of them eventually burnt their strings they started for. They managed to make it work, but for the future movies, all CGI.
Yeah.
The CGI, as we mentioned, got a lot better. They weren't super happy with it, but it adds, like I said, Roger Ebert's review, it just adds a silliness that it's a bit, not like the troll. The troll, I remember playing the video games after. The troll looks exactly the same in the movie as in the video game because it's that kind of low quality.
Yeah. I think it adds to it though because it's like a kid's film, isn't it?
Exactly. And it is interesting to watch when you watch them all to see, like the same way you see the actors improve as actors, you get to see all the details. Yeah. There was so the hats, the silly hats that they wear, the really pointy ones, they obviously ditch after this one. The uniforms, this is apparently in the books, there is no uniform. They wear cloaks, but J.K. Rowling told them that they're not supposed to, but in the books they don't. So they did some tests because with these things, they test everything, and they realized it looked a lot better to have everyone with a uniform.
Yeah.
I agree, it looks great. Imagine how much more money they made from the merchandising by selling everything with the Gryffindor logo and the scarves and the ties and everything from that. So I think it looks good and
cool.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw things at you. The costumes, I really enjoyed Harry's clothing at the beginning. I don't think I'd ever noticed it again. I think there's a shot of him
with the belt.
Yes, in the cabin. I was like, oh my God, yeah, he really is dressed like shit.
Yeah, because he's getting all of
the hand-me-downs.
Yeah,
which are too big and the wrong age and everything. Apparently, over the series, they tweaked a lot of the costumes. So whether it was Dumbledore's or Hagrid's or the uniforms. One character they basically said we nailed it in the first one and we didn't change it. Can you guess who it is?
From this movie?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that person basically wears the same outfit for the whole movie.
Filch?
No, Snape.
Snape.
It's
Okay,
true,
yeah.
like his black robes and how they're attached to his hands, because he does a lot with his hands and stuff, and
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
and also the way he walks, it almost makes it seem like he's floating.
Gliding, yeah.
So yeah, he's great. Yeah, I told you I've already said about how they did the Quidditch thing. So here's my fun anecdote.
Okay.
So I grew up in the south of France, and they've got these in the Basque country. There are these two kinds of rackets that are very localized, and we had some friends who ran this very niche business of basically selling local stuff. So they did food and wines and stuff, but they also sold these things, and they got contacted by the production of Harry Potter, and I don't know which one of these two types of rackets they sent, maybe both, but they basically said, we are trying to figure out what the bat that the beaters are going to use, and so they ordered
like from all over. I
ordered
assume.
10, 20 of these, and they didn't end up using them, obviously, because they ended up using mini baseball bats. I think.
Yeah, it looks like a baseball bat with a metal ring around it.
Yeah, but it just tells you the amount of effort they go to. They must have researched hundreds of things, spent hundreds of thousands. Actually, no, they probably got them to send them for free, because they said, listen, if we end up using these, we will spend thousands of thousands. So maybe they got a few sent over, but that's how. So same with costumes. You see the costume designers like, oh, we tried 50 different types of cloak, and this is how they chose, and the amount of detail that goes into
just
these
for
things.
like one tiny bit in a 2.5 hour movie.
Exactly. And just for the Quidditch, the brooms, I bet they spent so much time and effort. And I do remember this in the book. You think, okay, I get it, but how do you make a broom cool? They managed to. The Nimbus 2000 looks very cool. And then we've talked about the music. I think we said in the beginning, because it's so important, but it's just epic. They nail it. It just gives a whole other dimension to it. Another whole feel that is, and it's just so amazing because the book doesn't give any guidance for it.
Yeah, and it can go from happy to like mystery, I guess.
Just a couple of words on Chris Columbus. So apparently he read the books very early on and was interested, and his daughter was very very much pushing him to do it. But he found out that there were 50 other directors, that sort of number, who wanted to do it. Steven Spielberg apparently was in the front runner.
Wow.
But then I think he kind of recognized that he didn't want to commit to doing multiple movies, and I think he realized that it doesn't feel like something. I'm sure he would have done a great job. Obviously, he made E.T., so he could do it, but it just doesn't feel like it's quite his wheelhouse. But they had loads and loads of people. M. Night Shyamalan was
that would be a very different movie.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher Columbus did the first two.
Yes.
And you can tell the style change when you move between the movies.
Third,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but hopefully not too much.
Yeah, but it's just nice that they all brought their own little thing to the movies.
There's one, I don't remember his name, but one of the directors who was in the running for the first one ended up directing one of the later ones. I don't know if it's the third, fourth, or fifth. And one of the tidbits is the Chris Columbus. So I told you he wrote a spec script and did a bunch of like extra prep that's not expected usually just for an interview.
Yeah.
And then he also supposedly, as legend goes, he insisted on being the last person to be interviewed because he wanted to make a lasting impression.
Okay.
But yeah, they decided to choose. And obviously, he was experienced and stuff and did a great job. As I said, apparently directing the kids was very tough. So good job on him. So just finishing off the production, I asked you to put together your favorite shots. We did our quotes. We basically, I think every quote that I had, you had. So we very much agreed on the best one. Shots, I think we've got a lot of similar ones. But yes, do you want to just go through yours and then I'll add any of mine?
Yes. So I think we've mentioned this one already, but the first time that McGonagall transforms from a cat to a person.
Yeah, I didn't actually have that one, but I love it as well.
Yeah, with the shadows.
We're both big cat lovers here.
Yes,
so.
I think that might have, Next one is, again, I think we mentioned this, the Hogwarts Express. So obviously we first see it, but it's the shots when we're above and it's going through the countryside.
It wouldn't be top 5, but for me, top 10 is, I think, the opening of the vault with the Philosopher's Stone in it is quite cool because it's from the inside. It's the whole like untangling fancy thing, and then just this tiny stone. I think that one's quite cool.
Yeah.
And then Harry's gold too is quite a nice moment. For
the shot of that, he's just...
The shot is cool, but it's the significance of like, you poor thing, you actually have a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
And then I think you also said the owls at Privet Drive is a cool one.
That's a cool one, yeah. Especially because they only cover that house. And it like has the whole street and it's just like one house covered in owls.
Yeah.
What would the neighbours think?
Oh, and then also so we're going for something that's literally one shot. The shot can be 4 or 5 seconds, but it's one uncut shot. I think him grasping for the letters also is a good. I have that one as well. Then we both have the boats. I think that is
boats. Yeah,
that's the best one.
Yeah, I think so. I think just the way it's done, like you see Hogwarts for the first time.
Yeah, and then the music really kicks in there.
And then similar, but the first time you go into the Great Hall and there's the ceiling with all the candles.
I'll say this quickly because I did put some work into it, but J.K. Rowling has said there's about 1,000 kids that go to Hogwarts, and then in the behind the scenes, he says that was too many, so we cut it down to about 400. But I did some pausing and I counted. Like 2 things I counted was when they go into the Great Hall, I only counted about 220 people sitting. So I just counted 2 tables multiplied by 4. I think there's about 50, 60 new students coming in, which only takes you up to about 280. But then also in the Quidditch lesson, there's only about 30 of them. And Slytherin's there, Gryffindor's there, and I definitely spotted someone with Ravenclaw. So presumably,
like the full year.
You would think it's the full year, but that doesn't add up because if you just multiply that by 7, you only get to 180. So there's some
of the maths doesn't work out.
Some of the math doesn't work out. Like, I mean, I think I just wish. I think it's fine taking it down, but I wish they'd had continuity. Like they say, there's 400 students.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's big enough stuff. But yeah, that's just one thing that comes to mind with the Great Hall. But it is an amazing scene. The ceiling is amazing.
Yeah, so cool.
The moving staircase, as you pointed out,
moving staircase is super cool. Especially the one where it's Ron, Harry, and Hermione on it as it's moving, and that's the first time we go see Fluffy.
Yeah, I think the first time after the arrival when they get like us, we see it for the first time.
Yeah, and it's like shot from below,
and all
isn't
the
it?
moving portraits. And again, it's one that we've read about in the books over and over, and you see it for the first time. It's very cool.
Yeah, I've got the first night where Harry is sitting in the windowsill.
Yeah,
and he's in his cute little jammies, and he's got Hedwig with him.
Yeah, I hadn't put that one, but when I saw your list, I thought, yeah, that's a really good one. Another really good one you did was the winter to spring.
Yeah, I love that one where Hedwig's flying through in the snow, and then it changes into spring.
If you're listening to this on the podcast, one of the advantage of watching it on YouTube is that we'll be showing all the footage that we're talking about as we're doing it.
And final one I've got is, I think I mentioned it before, Quirrell crumbling into the ground.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, some great shots. Obviously, great material to work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just some quick round trivia before we kind of wrap up. So I mentioned before the final scene was shot first. Apparently they used 3 owls to play Hedwig. I've also seen 6, but I think 6 is the whole series. 3 owls. When I've rewatched them all in the past year, and Hedwig dying in the last one is spoiler. But that just I remember having that feeling the first time I read it in the book.
Yeah, I remember. I just remember you don't really, it's going so quick that you're like, wait, what happened?
In the movie it goes really quick as well. So then I told you about Harry does not cast an attacking spell, which is weird. This is such a random one. Bruce Springsteen wrote a song with lyrics that was meant to be in the Harry Potter movie.
Oh, weird.
And apparently it was going to be there, but then they cut out the scene. Strange. I've listened to the song. I'll send it to you if you want.
Yeah.
And people, all the comments of people like, oh, this song is now part of Harry Potter lore. It's so strange. Michael Jackson, great
start. I'm ready.
Was a big Harry Potter fan and wanted to turn the book into a musical, but J.K. Rowling refused to grant permission. Well, thank God she didn't get into bed with him. Yeah, the cast includes 1 Oscar winner, Dame Maggie Smith, and 4 Oscar nominees, Richard Harris, Sir John Hurt, Dame Julie Waters. John Cleese, we didn't talk about him in the cast because obviously not big. At first I thought, is he only in like 1 shot? But he's actually in 3 or 4 scenes. But I love that he was willing to be like, no, I'll just be this tiny...
little ghost.
Probably, again, grandkids were begging him to do it. Oh, yeah, Terry Gilliam was J.K. Rowling's top choice for director. He's a Monty Python original member and stuff, but he didn't get to do them. Oh, Rupert Grint was actually injured in the chess thing stunt.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, in the script, the flashbacks to Voldemort's killing were written by J.K. Rowling because they're obviously not in the book.
Oh, of course.
And they said she was the only one that knew exactly what happened and how it happened. The word muggle actually existed in the early to mid 1900s. It was a jazz word that was used for pot smokers.
Oh, not related at all.
I guess it was probably like, something like the word faggot has a really long etymology of having meant different things.
Oh, really?
And it comes from literally a faggot of wood is a heavy pack of sticks of wood, so it was considered a burden on society. So it got used at different points. It wasn't used back then to refer to homosexuality or anything, but then that's what it became to be used now. So I do wonder if this is something that like muggle just sounds like something weird. So maybe it was like, oh, you weirdos that spoke pot, and then like because the muggles are weird
to the wizards,
yeah, which is funny. And then the final ones for cats. Sir Christopher Lee, so Sauron from the Lord of the Rings, was considered for Albus Dumbledore, but the producers thought that he was too scary for the children.
Oh,
which is fair.
Yeah.
Especially if they've seen the Lord of the Rings. You told us why this movie means a lot to you, and we've now dissected every last bit. So how would you bring it all together about why this movie is so special?
It's a timeless classic, and it brings a book series that's like loved by so many that I grew up with to life. And I think because it's set in a school, you can put yourself into that setting slightly, and like you feel like you're learning about magic and growing with Harry.
Yeah, and I guess as we've discussed, it brings it to life in every way, from getting the actors that look like them, both the kids and the adults, by things that we didn't know what they would look like, showing us and it working. Because that's one of the big things. There are books sometimes people just go, the adaptations, that's just not right.
Yeah.
And it does. The music, as I've said many times, just adds a whole other dimension. So yeah, I agree. They almost make it look easy, but it's so hard to do what they did.
Yeah.
And they do it so well.
I think also because like a lot of other fantasy, they can just go like really rogue. Whereas with this, because it is in a school setting, it means that they have to there has to be a school bully, and they have to tick various boxes that people can relate to, and they just do it so well.
One of the goals of this podcast is to slowly but surely get through my top 100 movies, telling everyone where they rank throughout. My rule for franchises is only one movie gets to represent a franchise. So one movie from the Harry Potter franchise will make the top 100. I don't think it's this one, although I will say I appreciate this one a lot more now, having studied it in depth, much as I did with the Fellowship of the Ring. I have one in mind. I have an idea of what my favorite Harry Potter book and movie is, but we'll have to go through them all to find out if that stands the test. Okay, so I guess my question to you is, would the Harry Potter franchise being represented by one movie make your top 100 movies? I would guess yes.
100%, yeah.
But it wouldn't be this one, or would it?
I think to represent the whole franchise, maybe.
Okay.
Because it does like set the scene, but I don't think it's the best movie.
But but to you, subjectively.
I'm trying to think.
Is it your favorite of the Harry Potters or not?
No, I don't think so.
Which one? Or you can.
Fourth, maybe the third. The third has like a bit of an edge, which I quite like.
I like the third.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, I like the fourth's different. Mm. But so let's say Harry Potter is a franchise in a top 100 movies for you. Where would you place it? You can give me an approximate.
It's going to be top 25, I would say. Not top 10. Because I don't think it's arguably like a good... I love it because it like brings something to life that I love. But I'm not like, that is a really well done movie. Although, saying that, having gone through and studied it you can see the shots that are really well done.
And I think the stuff, like the things that we've maybe... Some criticism was about the kids acting and the CGI, and that gets resolved pretty quickly in the next few movies. So yeah, I think by the end of the franchise, they are top-notch movies. And I definitely think it's fair that Deathly Hallows Part 2, which again, rewatching it now, I do think is very good, does belong in the top movies of all time.
Yeah. I do wonder if the books weren't a thing and they made the same movies but without having that following, if they would be as successful.
Yeah, that would I have no idea what would happen there. But yeah, I think this is the perfect example of a work of art that needs to start as a book.
Yeah.
Kind of as a proof of concept, because obviously a lot cheaper to write a book than to make a very complicated, expensive movie like this. And I mean, I think that's why most sci-fi fantasy starts off in book form, because it would be such an investment. And then it's like, people like it, so we've got a really good chance. I actually don't remember if this is the director or the producer said about the first one coming out. He said he wasn't worried about the box office. He said he knew that Harry Potter was big enough that it would make plenty of money, but he was worried about the critical reception of to be honest, probably more the fans than the critics, because he just knew that the first one come out, and if it was crap, it would make money, but then they would struggle to make others.
Yeah.
Imagine if this had come out and it was just mediocre, and then they didn't make any more. How weird that would have been. What a tragedy. Anyway, Emma, I want to thank you so much for your first, I'm sure, of many appearances.
Yes, I'll be
hopefully.
back.
Well, we've got
a lot of movies to go through.
7 more movies. So yeah, well, if you're willing, we'll go through them slowly but surely over the next few years. And so yeah, thank you. And you know what? There are Emma's a big horror fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll be back.
Yeah, maybe you, me, and Sunita one day can do an episode where you guys can tell me why you guys love these weird, horrible
we'll convince
movies
you.
so much. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. You can find us on YouTube in video form, also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow us on YouTube for bonus content like modern recasting, drafts, small segments, and also follow us on Instagram for shorts, polls, all that fun stuff. If you enjoy us, make sure to follow us everywhere and tune in on the last Thursday of every month for new episodes. See you soon.